Well, welcome everyone to the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee meeting. I'd like to start off by making a motion to approve our last minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from the Vice Mayor and a second by Councilman Garcia. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. I just wanted to let the people know that items 4 and 6, we're going to be continuing that. We have a lot of individuals for 2 items that we have. So I know that we have some speakers for items 4 and 6. Just want to let you all know that we'll be continuing those 2 items for the November meeting, and we'll make sure that you guys are put on the list to speak first on the next coming subcommittee meeting. So with that, is there any call to the public?
Yes, Chairman, we have a few people for call to the public. First is Ronnie Swice.
Okay, Ronnie.
Ronnie, are
Hello?
you on the line?
Yes. Are we starting with the tobacco flavor ban?
This is call to the public.
Here, move you over there, right?
I'm sorry, you cut off for a second.
I said this is call to the public, so we start our meetings where if there's anything you want to discuss to the subcommittee, you're allowed to. The tobacco is a couple items down, and we can actually place you on the tobacco if you want to address that issue.
Okay, let's do that then.
All right, so we'll just move you to the tobacco, and we'll hear you in a little bit. Thank you so much, Ronnie.
Thank you, Mike.
Second on call to the public, we had
Yes, sir.
Michelle Jameson.
All righty. Welcome, Michelle.
She is no longer on the line.
All righty.
We have Richard
Is there anyone else?
Labate. He is also not on the line. We had
Hey, Richard, how's it going? All right.
we have Sissy Veteran, not on the line. Jameen Hawes, not on the line. Bruce Franks, he should be on the line. Mr. Franks?
Yes, I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I will also be attending a meeting where you've moved the discussion for use of force, but I do want to make public comment. As I watched this meeting come on, I saw it said public safety and justice, and I thought that was both ironic and I thought it was an oxymoron. I've been living in the city for about a year and a half, but I've done work here. And what I've seen is the very opposite of justice when it comes to the system, when it comes to policing, and when it comes to the prosecutor, even when it comes to the allocation of funds in places like South and West Phoenix. I know we're going to get to use of deadly force in the other meeting, but while we have the ability to talk to the public right now, we need to expand that scope. So when that's rescheduled, right? Folks need to think about jailing during COVID while officers are walking around with no mask on, with administration walking around with no mask on, and jailing in COVID, period, as being something as a use of force, political prosecution as use of force. Also with the use of force language, because the use of force language says someone who reasonably believes, as we can see, we haven't had reasonable officers. We haven't had a reasonable thought process with these officers. So those are things that need to be reframed. But I would definitely want the city to take a good look at what's happening in the police department and what's happening in the movement right now in Phoenix, because people like Percy, people like all of these folks who are being politically persecuted. That man spent 7 days in jail. Nobody's looking at the body camera footage. Nobody's matching the body camera footage with the actual police report. They contradict each other. And I'm going to talk over whatever that is in the background because I got a loud voice. But at the end of the day, we got to stop these political persecutions, and city council as a whole, the elected officials as a whole. Y'all need to understand that the folks are going to be in the streets. So y'all need to figure out exactly what that accountability measure looks like, how to come together with these policies that you keep putting out, and how you're allocating these funds within our budget. Because all of this, quite frankly, is nonsense.
Thank you very much for your comments. Is there any other call to the public?
Yes, we have 3 more. Paul Davis.
Good morning, council. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, excellent. I'm here today to, first of all, my name is Paul Davis. I am an immigration attorney in Phoenix. I work at Delia Salvatierra, and I'm raising a concern on behalf of about 10 other immigration practitioners regarding the time it's taking to get police reports from Phoenix PD. This started on an immigration forum where an individual, Hillary Walsh, a local practitioner, mentioned that she submitted a request in April and it was September and she still hadn't gotten a police report. And that was then repeated that it was a similar experience shared by several other immigration attorneys, including this office. In May, I submitted about 5 requests and they didn't come in until September. And the reason that this is an issue for the immigrant population is twofold. One is in the pursuit of U visa, which is a visa for victims of violent crime. They have to have a police report before they can request the Phoenix Police Department to certify that they were a victim. The time already takes like 4 years. And so if it's taking us 6 months sometimes to get police reports, and then another year to get a U certification, or 6 months to get a U certification, now we're at 6 years for them. And it could be highly prejudicial to their removal case as well. And then the other concern is for immigrants in bond proceedings and removal proceedings. Oftentimes judges won't release immigrants from custody unless they have a police report regarding an incident they were involved in, whether they were a victim or whether they were accused of something. And so the inability for us to get these police reports in a timely manner is keeping them in custody. And then in the removal context, oftentimes judges are requiring police reports so they can determine if the individual is worthy of discretion and able to stay in the country. So I'm just bringing this to the council. My proposed solution, or an idea that I'd like to have considered, is perhaps some sort of streamline police report request for those who are in removal proceedings or those who are victims of crimes and need an expedited process to protect themselves. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Is there maybe that could become a future agenda item if we can U visas and the process and the timing behind it, Milton, if you can maybe make a note for that for the future agenda item.
Yes,
That'd be
sir.
great.
We will do so.
Is there any other call to the public?
Yes, Shameen Hawes, I believe, is now on the line, who was not on earlier.
Perfect.
Hi, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. I want to make sure that this subcommittee understands the fact that the police in Phoenix are already massively overfunded. We don't need any more police. We don't need a full 1/3 of our city budget devoted to the police, especially when we're facing a global pandemic. We need city services like rental assistance, rental forgiveness. We need housing for our unsheltered relatives that are out on the streets and have no facilities. We need mental health services for people that are experiencing trauma in their households while they're locked in, and can't even really reach the police on the phone because they're too busy hounding protesters in downtown Phoenix, following them away from peaceful protests and arresting them as they're trying to peacefully leave, dragging them from their cars, throwing them into cells where they are much more likely to contract this highly contagious disease. The Phoenix police act with zero concern for the public safety. All they care about is protecting themselves. They don't even wear masks. It's disgusting. We've had enough. We want a city that responds to our needs as a community. There are more needs in this community than just a bunch of uniformed terrorists running around. We need to defund the police. We need to divest all of this money that you're investing in the cops and invest it in city services that we have a desperate need for. You should be ashamed of yourselves, the way you're operating this city. With emergency funds only available, you have to get an appointment once a week on a Monday, starting at 8 o'clock. And if it's a holiday, you got to wait till the next Monday. What are you people doing? Wake up. You are pathetic. You are supposed to represent the people of this city, and instead you're just paying cops to be terrorists and kill us. They're doing a horrible job. You just gave them a $24 million raise. It's despicable. I don't know how you sleep at night. I have nothing else to say. You make my stomach hurt.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else with call to the public?
We had Miriam Araya, if she's on the line. Miriam, are you on the line?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So hi, again, my name is Miriam, and I am a resident of Phoenix living in District 4. And I am here today to speak because Phoenix Police Department is one of the most violent police forces in the nation, and I will always come and show up to speak because of that. And I'm also here because I have experienced that violence head on. After exercising my right to peacefully assemble while I was walking back to my car, I was hunted down by a Phoenix Police Department officer. After asking them to please leave me alone so that I could go home, I was stalked and cornered. Phoenix Police Department officers proceeded to drive on the sidewalk and into the grass in an attempt to kidnap me and throw me into a cage. They then proceeded to chase me down in the street in the nature of their ancestors, their slave patrollers. So I'm here today to say that Black women should be able to walk to their car at night without being hunted down like prey by grown men with guns. It's just absolutely unacceptable. People who are peacefully assembling should not be thrown into cages and charged with felonies. This needs to stop. The Phoenix Police Department needs to just stop, period. So no, Phoenix Police Department does not need to be funded anymore by the city, plea, or any other entity. And to encourage more funding for them is an act of violence and repression of the people that they are supposed to be protecting and serving. Policing cannot solve the social issues that are happening in our city, including the homelessness, drug addiction, poverty, and the lack of accessibility to physical and mental health care. These are the things that we should be focused on funding, not a racist and anti-Black and armed policing system that by design targets our most marginalized communities. We need social services, not cops, and political prosecutions must come to a stop as soon as possible. And I would just like to all remind you all here that safety safeguarded by violence is not safety. So if this committee is supposed to be about, you know, public safety, policing is not a space where this conversation can actually be had, because policing in itself is violent and therefore it can never keep us truly safe. Like these social resources that I'm saying and suggesting can, if we address these issues in our communities. So as you proceed with this meeting, I just hope that you keep these things in mind, that possibly the conversations that we're having here need to be had in other spaces, and in the money that's planning to be granted to the police department needs to be put elsewhere, so that our communities can actually thrive and survive. So, and then we also need to think about defunding from that system and invest into other systems, because as of now, policing, having too much money in the city is going to policing. We need to just re-challenge needs to be policed, and we need to stop giving people felonies for exercising their basic rights. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Staff followed through with that to find out what happened and to get her side of the story documented. With that, is there anybody else to call the public?
No, Chairman, there is not.
Alrighty, so with that, I'll take a motion for consent item number 2.
Move approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. With that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. So I heard at least 2 ayes and no nays, so the motion carries. The next item is a motion to move item number 8 to consent. Can we have a motion to do that?
I would move approval and to move this forward to the council with approval.
Second.
Okay. So was that a motion to go ahead and move consent item item number 8 to consent?
Yes.
All right. Is there and then there was a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. So now we'll listen to we need a motion to approve item number 8 as a consent item.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All those in
Second.
favor say aye.
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 Chairman, there's a lot of
Thank-
Michael, I'm sorry, Matt,
There's a lot of
there's just a
static,
lot of
right?
feedback.
Yes.
I just can't hear anything anymore.
I think Chambers needs to mute, maybe.
We all give it our phone, our computers. It continues to happen. So I believe it's on your side.
Michael, I can't hear you.
Not that there's static so on their side.
We're
Buddy.
going to have IT check the system really quickly as you proceed.
Now it's gone, Matt.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so sorry about that. Now we're on to, I would like to take privilege as a chair to ask for a motion to continue items 4, 6, and 7, to move it to November subcommittee. Is seeing that we have such a lot of interest in item number 3.
Move approval, what you just said, those items.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
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 All
Chair,
those opposed?
can I make a comment?
The ayes have it. Oh, yes, absolutely. Councilman Garcia?
On the use of force, I know we had a lot of comments as well. So I just want to make sure that we have it in November and it's in the agenda. And I want to second the 2 other requests that you made, which was the immigration, the U visas, and the protest, what's happening with the protest. So I just want to make sure we have a November meeting and that these folks that woke up at 8:30 and were in public comment, we can hear them out.
Do we have any public comments on any of those?
Chairman, we do on item 4, we have about 8 members of the public on that item, and 1 on item 6.
So Councilman Garcia, you would like to hear their comments on the continuance, on the moving it to November subcommittee?
I don't know if we move up to public comment in reference to that, but I would like to, I mean, they woke up early, they went through the whole process, signed up yesterday or this morning. I think it's only fair we could at least hear them out, and then, you know, it's fine if we don't take action or we don't hear from the chief on the item, but it just feels a little wrong for those 8 folks not to be able to speak.
All right, the rest of my colleagues, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I think we should hear them speak.
Alrighty, so what we're going to do right now is basically hear the 8 individuals and put it on public record for the November subcommittee, right?
Okay, Chairman, I would first call on Ruya Prasad. They are not on the line. Our next commenter is Maisal Go. Also not on the line. Will Knight. Mr. Knight, are you on the line?
Excuse me. Yes, I just unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you, Subcommittee Chair, Council members. My name is Will Knight. I am a directly impacted Latino immigrant. I am an attorney, and I'm a proud Phoenician. I am speaking today because I'm concerned about some things that I'm seeing with the behavior of the Phoenix Police Department in relation to ongoing protests. The last time I had occasion to speak to this council, I spoke to you about acceptance of responsibility and how important that is on the part of our public officials who are charged with enforcing the law. How important it is to maintain consent of the governed and public trust for our law enforcement officials to accept responsibility and to take a leadership role in handling difficult situations like we're dealing with right now. That was in the context of funding the Civilian Review Board and the Office of Accountability and Transparency, but the message is still incredibly important because what we're seeing is that unprecedented public engagement in the wake of the killing of Black and brown bodies, from George Floyd to Deion Johnson to more recent events here in Phoenix. And while some of the public engagement and attention has waned, the communities who are most impacted by this, their engagement has not. Right? People are exercising their rights. And the Phoenix Police Department is continuing to respond to peaceful protests with incredible amounts of aggression and violence. We are seeing massive numbers of arrests. Specifically, you may have seen in the press toward the beginning, 200 people arrested on the first day. It hasn't slowed down much since then, but even more important than the numbers of arrests of peaceful protesters, and more concerning, charges being brought against most of these protests are still being thrown out. That famously happened in March to most of the 200 protesters who were arrested based on copy of.
Will, if you can wrap it up with the final comments, that'd be great.
Point is, the city of Phoenix is facing a massive lawsuit. These arrests are being performed under the auspices of public safety because they are alleging that people are engaging in safety. Will,
I want to thank you for your comments, and we'll go to the next speaker, please.
The next speaker would be Ash Us.
Thank you.
Hi there, can you hear me all right?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Thanks, Councilmember Nowakowski. My comment is brief. In looking at the agenda for this item, one of the things I wanted to ask about, I see that there is optional medical treatment training provided to first responders, to our police department, and it says, as listed in the agenda and in the packet, that these EMT courses are available to interested officers. And as long as we're still operating with police officers and not defunding our police, I think it would be really important to require that our police department participate in these EMT courses, simply because there are instances where officers use force and the person that is involved in the situation is injured or hurt. And there could be some time until the fire department arrives to administer response medical treatment. So I think it's really important for harm reduction and for our civilians that all of our officers have a basic training of how to respond if someone needs that sort of emergency medical treatment. So my only request would be that instead of the policy as written, again, while we haven't defunded, that it become not optional but mandatory for our officers to have those EMT skills. Thank you so much for for allowing me some time to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Marcus Reed. Marcus, are you on the line? Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to keep it really brief today, too. I'm definitely going to continue to show up anytime that I can get some comments on the Phoenix Police. Drastic measures need to come into play to really help us become more of a safe community. Even the fact that we had an immigration attorney get on today and speak about the trouble with the Phoenix Police, that is a common theme, no matter what, who you are, whether you're a citizen, whether you're a business, whether you're an attorney. It's just a common theme that things need to change drastically with the police department. I'm really I'm kind of furious because it doesn't seem to be any self-awareness or self-discovery happening with the Phoenix Police Department. I mean, you can go online right now to the Instagram, and they have probably one of the best social media teams that I can even think of. They have one cop that is like shape-shifting from an ASU football player to a Phoenix Police Department, but then they can't get the immigration documents over to help some of our citizens that are being harmed by the system that's supposed to protect them. So, I think everything needs to be actually looked at with the Phoenix Police Department. And I also wanted to kind of circle back with something that Jim Waring said yesterday about people being on the OAT that have been arrested before. I do want to throw some caution because the Phoenix Police, just as they've done with the protesters, they'll just arrest everybody that has a chance to be on the OAT. So I just wanted to throw that in there too. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. The next person.
Our next speaker is Maisal Go. She's joined the line.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Mhm.
So I wanted to say that the changes for this policy are pathetically inadequate. As written, this policy change fails to address several issues that the community has been asking for. Throughout the legislative text, there is nothing written about who will govern. Throughout the legislative text, there's nothing written about who will govern and address when an officer violates policy. Furthermore, all the items listed here are subjective after the fact, making it possible for officers to explain their behavior without accountability. Just this summer alone, the Phoenix Police Department has wasted over $12 million of taxpayer money to harass protesters. When will this stop? My community and I are calling for real changes, and this is not it.
Thank you.
And our last speaker on this item is Jisoo Kim.
Hello, good morning, and thank you for the chance to speak. Thank you, Council, for putting this item back on. It's true, a lot of us have been eagerly waiting for this chance to speak, so thanks again. As for the police use of force policy changes, we want to make it clear that these reforms are laughable, and no civilian should let themselves be fooled by them. The proof's in the pudding. I mean, PEPD has fostered a culture that necessitated these reforms to begin with. As people, we must dream bigger. We cannot be satisfied with these patchwork, half-hearted, and belated policy changes. I mean, just look at the fact that they're being presented in the same meeting as brand new equipment for PPD to use to intimidate civilians who dare question them. We heard from some of those same civilians earlier today. I mean, over $200,000 for brand new equipment to fulfill some unjustified need. Council should not accept donations with such dangerous strings attached. PPD is big enough as it is, and civilians see no need for new equipment to respond to calls. Of course, retaining their image remains a priority for PPD as well. They're going to receive a Camaro to support reserve officer recruitment efforts. Clearly, we're on a path to let PPD keep growing, and we must reverse course. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the comments that we have, right?
Yes, Chairman, that is correct.
Alrighty, so we'll go to continuing item 4, 6, and 7. Is there a motion to approve?
You passed it.
Alrighty. Which item are we on right now?
Mr. Chairman, you
So
want
now go ahead.
I believe you wanted to hear item 5.
Right. Alrighty, so we're I'm gonna take the privilege of moving item 5, 7 out of place and putting number 3 at the end, seeing that we have close to 100 cards for item number 3. So with that, we'll hear item number 5. I believe we have a presentation on this.
Yes, sir, we do.
Sorry, let me try again. Good morning, Chairman Nowakowski and members of the subcommittee. I'm Lieutenant Abernathy, and I'm here with Commander Brian Frutenthal of the Maryville Estrella Mountain Precinct. Is it okay if I take this off? We are here to present and provide a little bit of an update on the Street Racer Task Force over the last summer months and better part of the last 11 months. I'll start by providing just a brief history, if I can move the slide. In early May of 2019, or even early of 2019, we started seeing crowds numbering in the 300 to 500 range of both car and truck clubs, hitting to our private businesses and taking over parking lots, conveying maneuvers, high-speed maneuvers in the parking lot, of burnouts, your typical drag racing, and what they call donuts. Go ahead, next slide. In order to try to curb some of this behavior, we worked with our business owners, with our community action officers and resource team out in the Maryville-Estrella Mountain Precinct. We started working with those business owners to set up signage for trespassing and assure that we had authorities to cite and arrest for those violations. We were mainly seeing this on Sunday nights, although there was a problem throughout the weekend. Sunday nights was our heaviest night where we were seeing the greatest number of racers. Next. Realizing that the number of officers we had was inadequate to deal with these type of numbers, we started a task force in November, late November, and received participation from all 7 patrol precincts with the assistance of our Traffic Bureau motor officers and then canine and air support as well. We also worked with the Arizona Department of Public Safety and the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, as well as some of the surrounding border agencies and cities, as we were seeing this mainly contained to the west side of the valley for the most part early on in 2019. Realizing that we needed assistance to keep this type of manpower up, we worked with the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, and Director Alberto Gutierrez had pledged over $250,000 in the last 11 months. We have since been pledged by the director as well, another $50,000 for the new grant cycle coming up for this new year. Next slide. Some of the locations that we were seeing are present on the slide there. Each Sunday night, on average, we were seeing about 10 to 15 locations. Sometimes Sunday nights would even get heavier than that. We could end up with 20 locations at a night, and this is taking over intersections, warehouses, and different businesses. Some of the ones that are up there that you see are some of the repeat locations that are oftentimes hit throughout Sunday night, but this is just a fraction of what we will see throughout the last 11 months. The locations began to grow as it became more popular, and we started seeing the problem spread throughout the city, throughout all of the city, and even push into some of the east side cities as well. At approximately, or each one of these locations usually will provide or generate 5 to 10 calls to our Crime Stop and our 911 operators. So on an average night, we could see upwards of 50 to 70 calls, depending on the night, coming in from our citizens. Next slide. Some of the related issues that come from street racing, obviously are traffic accidents. We've had some near fatalities and fatalities related to this as well. On some of the other nights, not necessarily on Sunday nights, we were seeing some related things that we were calling, or they call flash mobs. This is basically where a group of partygoers or street racers would get together by about 50 to 100, enter into a Quick Mart or a Circle K or gas station, shoplift merchandise, food, and alcohol that they would later use in the night. As I talked about earlier, some of the things that we saw was them taking over warehouses. Mainly we saw this in South Phoenix, and some of the larger warehouses, they would break locks, enter the bay doors, drive their cars up the ramps, and then continue to do donuts inside these warehouses, causing different types of damage to the warehouses, as well as the parking lots. A lot of these parking lots have soft tar, and so the donuts and the high-speed maneuvers and drag racing they were doing in these parking lots would tear up the asphalt and the tar on the parking lots. We saw some additional criminal activity that came from this on a regular basis. Pretty common to see fireworks with these locations, and then leaving the locations, shots fired into the air was pretty typical. We've also discovered that there's been a lot of stolen vehicles involved in some of the street racers, as well as some drug sales. we have a video we'd like to present and kind of give an indication of some of the activity that we're seeing on Sunday nights. This is a accumulation of videos over the last 11 months that our task force has been in play. To date, some of our enforcement results. So we have about 44 deployments. This is usually on Sunday nights from about 8 o'clock at night to about 12, 2 in the morning, depending on the crowds. We have total contacts with officers, or total officer contacts, nearly 5,000 at 4,951. About half of that have been issued citations. Total charges is just over 5,000. 350 people have been cited for racing and reckless driving, and 153 people have been booked into jail on related charges, and this was of about 3 to 4 weeks ago, these numbers. At this point, I'll turn it over to government relations on some previous legislation that was put through last year.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and council members. Last year, Senator Paul Boyer sponsored Senate Bill 1659, which was a bill on racing on highways assessment and impoundment. It did three major things. The bill did pass the Senate Transportation and Public Safety Committee in February, but it did failed in the Rules Committee out of concerns primarily over impoundment and just some other political things happening at the time. But we'll have the opportunity with the direction of the committee to go back again this year. Last year's bill did three big things. Number one, it allowed for the removal or immobilization and impoundment of a vehicle in the moment of citation so that you get the vehicle off the streets. Secondly, it allowed for Class 2 misdemeanors given for reckless driving, and also Class 1 for spectators. And then also there was a $1,000 fine placed upon getting the vehicle out of impoundment that would go into the governor's Office of Highway Safety Fund, which would come back to the cities to help educate and use those dollars to, do better enforcements, better operations, things, equipment if necessary. So those are the three major components, and we can go back with the direction of the committee and put this on the legislative agenda for 2021. Okay.
With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions the subcommittee may have.
So, questions from my colleagues? Hearing none, I would like to ask Frank a question. Frank, is there anyone introducing a bill to this section coming up?
Mr. Chairman, not so far. Once the elections happened, we were going to take and with the direction of the committee, we were going to go back and find both Republican and Democratic sponsors this year to sponsor the bill. It just, with the makeup of the House and now even the Senate in question, I was waiting to see what type of sponsorship of the bill we would want.
And then, Lieutenant, one of the questions that I'm asked over and over is, what are we doing to enforce this act, this types of acts, especially in the Maryville and the Estrella and Levine area?
Chairman Nowakowski, we're proactively going out each Sunday night. We have a task force of about 30 officers that deploy every Sunday night, and we have been, like I said before, about 44 deployments, utilizing a number of different resources, strategic tactics, and following of their social media.
Excellent, thank you. Is there any other comments from my colleagues?
Mr. Chair?
Absolutely, Councilmember Williams.
I think it's really important that we support any legislation that goes through this year. I just read yesterday that Senator Boyer is planning to put this forth again. So I think it's essential that City of Phoenix support him.
Agree 100% on that. Any other of my colleagues, any other questions?
Councilman Nowakowski?
Yes, Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you. I think this is concerning for a lot of folks, but I just want to make sure that we're careful on how we're dealing with it. I think we've seen this grow during the pandemic. There's a lot of youth that aren't going to school. There's no jobs. And so I would want to make sure that we're not only trying to deal with this with enforcement. I grew up in the 90s around cruising, and there's a feeling of a similarity with folks just wanting to kind of hang out with each other, see each other. I know this is obviously taking on some this is a lot more dangerous than what we used to see in the cruising days. But I do want to make sure that we try other things and not just try to enforce or arrest as many people as possible. We talked last time we had this conversation, maybe there's an alternative space, maybe there's some social media work that we can do, some just different ways that we can support the youth, that we're not just kind of throwing the book at them. I understand the need for that. I understand the need to keep people safe, but I would just encourage us to try different strategies and not just one of pure enforcement. Thank you.
And Lieutenant, is there somehow, some way that we can do some type of education program out there to the community, sort of suggest some suggestions from Councilmember Garcia to let young people know what the consequences are, and also that how dangerous this is and how it can actually take somebody's life, right?
Chairman Nowakowski and Councilmember Carlos Garcia, we have done a couple of those things on the educational side of the House. We have placed billboards along the I-10 and the 101 freeways. I believe that ran for about 6 to 8 weeks. I'd have to double check on that. We've also done some social media things on our platform as well with the Phoenix Police Department. And then if you notice the numbers, we had about 5,000 officer contacts. Only about half of those ended up in citations. So many of those individuals were warned of the consequences of racing, not only the dangers of racing, but some of the consequences and fines that can come with that, which could end up getting their license revoked.
And then maybe in the future, we can have some of our attorneys come up and give us what are the legal ramifications of the city of Phoenix, what we can actually do legally to these individuals, and if there is some type of and then continue the outreach programs, right? So with that, is there any other questions? Well, thank you, Lieutenant, and thank you, Frank, for the report, and keep on fighting at the state capitol. With that, we're on item number 3. And basically, this is an item that's going to be talking about the federal and state laws on e-cigarettes and vaping.
Good morning, Chairman Nowakowski and subcommittee members. I'm joined here by our acting prosecutor, Bob Smith, and Assistant Chief Lopez, if after the presentation for any questions. So yes, today we are going to discuss the e-cigarette or vaping federal, state, and local regulations. So under federal law, in December of 2019, Congress passed a federal tobacco law that made it unlawful for retailers to sell a tobacco product to any person under 21 years of age. This was called the T21 law, and it applies to sales.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sure if it's just, excuse me, I'm not sure if it's just on my side, but it seems very shocking and fairly, you can hardly understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Chairman, I think it's just you because I could hear her clearly.
Alrighty, thank you.
Okay. Chairman, I will go ahead and go back and let me know if you're still having issues with hearing me.
I can hear you loud and clear now. Thank you.
Thank you. In December 2019, Congress passed a federal tobacco law that made it unlawful for retailers to sell a tobacco product to any person under 21 years of age. That is referred to as the T21 law and applies to sale of tobacco products, including cigarettes, smokeless tobacco, hookah tobacco, cigars, pipe tobacco, electronic nicotine delivery systems, or ENDS, which includes e-cigarettes and e-liquids. The Federal Drug Administration has authority to regulate T21, and the FDA defines electronic nicotine delivery systems, or ENDS, as non-combustible tobacco products, such as vapes, vaporizers, vape pens, hookah pens, electronic cigarettes, and e-pipes. And this is a picture with some examples of those ENDS. So under FDA, an ENDS uses a liquid, an e-liquid, that may contain nicotine, as well as varying compositions of flavorings, propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, and other ingredients. The liquid is heated to create an aerosol that the user inhales. So the FDA regulates the unauthorized sale of e-cigarettes and e-liquids, and in January 2020 prioritized enforcement against the unauthorized sale of flavored e-cigarette products that appeal to kids, such as flavored cartridges. Under Arizona state statutes, ARS Section 133622 addresses the illegal sale and use of tobacco products and vapor products. Retailers are prohibited from selling to minors. And the ARS states that a person who knowingly sells, gives, or furnishes a tobacco product, a vapor product, or any instrument or paraphernalia that is solely designed for the smoking or ingestion of tobacco or shisha, including a hookah or water pipe, to a minor, is guilty of a petty offense. Shisha is any mixture of tobacco leaf and honey, molasses, or dried fruit, or any other sweetener. So ARS continues to state that the definition of a vapor product means a non-combustible tobacco-derived product containing nicotine that employs a mechanical heating element, battery, or circuit, regardless of the shape or size, that can be used to heat a liquid nicotine solution contained in cartridges. Vapor product does not include any product that is regulated under Chapter 5 of the FDA, and Chapter 5 covers medically related drugs or devices. So additionally, under state statutes, it states that minors who buy or are in possession of tobacco products, including a vapor product or any instrument or paraphernalia that is solely designed for the smoking or ingestion of tobacco or shisha, including a hookah or water pipe, are guilty of a petty offense, and possession of the paraphernalia solely designed for smoking of tobacco or shisha involves a fine and community restitution. So in summary, federal law creates a question of whether an ENDS is sold for legitimate uses because it may have medical uses. State law restricts retail sales and possession and use of paraphernalia for tobacco and shisha. And state law regulates use and possession of vapor products for 18 and under. Local ordinances, below we'll list some cities that have prohibited retailers from selling tobacco products to anyone under the age of 21. But keep in mind that all of these provisions were put in place prior to the federal law. So neither T21 nor any state or city regulations impact an adult's individual choice to use or buy vaping devices and materials, ENDS, or vapor products. So for anyone over 21, none of these laws apply. Schools can draft and enforce policies regarding student use or possession of ENDS or vapor products, resulting in detention or suspension. And some options city could consider and have for future discussion: to prohibit sales of retailers to anyone under the age of 21, including violations of offenses with fines. We could require a city license for retail sales, or we could, which after subsequent fines, the retailer could lose their city license. We could also prohibit possession and use of vapor products and ENDS to anyone under the age of 21. Since the current Arizona law only prohibits use and possession to a minor under 18, the federal law, as we've stated, does apply to under 21, but the FDA regulates that against retailers, not against possession and use by minors. And with that, if there are any questions.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. What is a petty offense?
Good morning, Chairman, Councilwoman Williams. A petty offense would be punishable by a fine only. There would be no jail or probation. So that's the definition or ARS of a petty offense.
And who sets the amount of the fine?
Under 3622, there's a provision for a $100 fine and for $500 fine. So the state legislature would set that amount, and that it would be up to the discretion of the judge if there was any additional fine.
So I still don't quite understand when you say judge, do they get a citation? What did they get before judge?
If they were a minor, they would go before a juvenile judge, Your Honor. They would be adjudicated through the juvenile system, and there would be financial punishment there. If it was an adult that was selling to the juvenile, then it would be a fine, and it would be a criminal citation.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other questions? I'm sorry that my phone's breaking up really bad. Can we go to the public calls?
Yes, Chairman.
Any comments from the public? Yeah.
So our first person on the line is Jordan Rose. Hold on just a second. Jordan Rose, are you on the line?
Yes, Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Jordan Rose with Rose Law Group on behalf of Tobacco Free. And we have over 60 4 hospitals, many notable supporters here today, including Boys and Girls Club, Chicanos por la Casa, Arizona Academy of Pediatricians, Maricopa Area Labor Federation, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Arizona Medical Association, and really so many others asking that Phoenix end the sale of flavored tobacco products targeted at youth. And before they speak, I wanted to just mention there's great support in a recent poll by Celinda Lake. 62%, which is a wide margin of voters, support the proposed ordinance to end the sale of all flavored products that can appeal to youth. And by a 2-to-1 margin, voters support ending the sale of products to kids over the interests of tobacco store retailers. But I wanted to make sure that you understand that today we're not asking you to take a position on the details of the ordinance. Today we're merely asking that you direct your city attorney and city staff to go back and research and develop options, including enforcement mechanisms, for your city council to consider in dealing with this crisis. And once the city attorney looks into legal options, you can make the decision that's in the best interest for the action in Phoenix. And I think all of you have, on nearly every big issue, you've all said that more information is better than less. The Tobacco Free Kids lawyers and staff are ready to help provide the wealth of information that they have to your city attorney to enhance their research on the most effective ordinance to address the sale of flavored products to youth. And so remember, we had these debates in the 80s with the tobacco industry, and just think of all the lives that have been saved when leaders across the country stood up to the interests. We know what's taking place here, and we'd ask you to be on the right side of history today, too. Thank you so much for spending the time on this important health issue, and we hope you'll direct your lawyers to go back and research to bring back to you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Claudia Rodas.
Yes. Good morning, Chairman Nowakowski and City Council members. I want to thank you for the opportunity for testifying today, and I want to thank you for allowing all the voices in your community to be heard through this forum. I'm representing the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. We are the leading advocacy organization working to reduce tobacco use and its deadly consequences in the United States and around the world. As the Regional Advocacy Director, I get to work in many states in the southern part of the nation, and in this role, I get to meet and talk with many youth, parents, legislators, public school officials, and public health officials. And across the country, they share devastating stories of addiction and withdrawal. Some kids wake up in the night to vape or can't make it through a class period without even leaving to vape. Schools are struggling too, and many of them turn to punishing our youth when we should actually be helping them. Our youth are using all types of tobacco products, electronic cigarettes, menthol cigarettes, and so forth in high rates. As the world combats COVID-19, it has never been more important to keep our lungs healthy. And the coronavirus attacks the lungs, and behaviors that weaken the lungs put individuals at greater risk. There's conclusive evidence that smoking increases the risk for respiratory infections, weakens the immune system, and is a major cause of a number of underlying health conditions. And there's growing body of evidence that vaping can also harm lung health. There's no doubt the scientific evidence is clear that flavor and tobacco products have driven this epidemic. We're asking you today to take the opportunity to listen to your community, to be bold and make a change, a positive change for your community. We work with localities and states across the nation on this issue, on a variety of tobacco control issues, particularly on flavor issues. And we have been involved with many similar conversations with local officials. And I want to offer our assistance today to the City of Phoenix and your attorneys. And we are prepared to offer our full staff to help you properly study your office. Thank you for
Thank you, Claudia. Our next caller is?
Our third speaker is Amanda Wheeler.
Hi, my name is Amanda Wheeler. I'm the Executive Director of the Arizona Smoke-Free Business Alliance and the President of the American Vapor Manufacturers Association. And I'm here to discuss the potential of banning flavored vapor products in the city of Phoenix. The process thus far, although we've learned about it in the newspaper and the local media, has not had any kind of stakeholder involvement or discussion. First and foremost, whenever a government and an entity takes the authoritarian step to ban any product, that government has a responsibility to at least talk and meet with the industry it is attempting to regulate out of existence. You will hear from many responsible business owners about your unintended consequences that we've seen in other areas when a government does not consider their actions very carefully. Questions and facts arise when we come together to understand one another's goals. We ask that the City of Phoenix take a moment to work with stakeholders to ensure they are making the best possible decisions regarding their communities. Some of these questions include, who will enforce these potential laws? It's not lost on me that you are considering on this same agenda a report about the police use of force. A department stretched too thin will only be stretched thinner when they are asked to enforce vaping laws that are regulated at the state and federal level. It's not a question to take lightly. In fact, that is the reason that the American Civil Liberties Union has taken a national position against these types of flavor bans. It gives the police one more reason to stop or search people of color. They oppose it because it is well documented that many people of color enjoy flavored nicotine products. I have that letter for your review, and I'd like to submit that as part of the record. The federal government has just taken dramatic steps to not only establish the T21 laws, but also limit the flavors of nicotine products, should the City of Phoenix try to overstep that. The state of Arizona, including the Attorney General's office, was in the middle of heavily regulating the vape industry as recently as April of 2020. There is a bill that will be taken up again this legislative session that allowed zoning, marketing, and product restrictions that would be carried out by the Arizona Department of Liquor, who has nearly 20 investigators dedicated to age-restricted products. Were it not for COVID closures, that bill was on the fast track to pass and will
Amanda,
be
if you could
pursued
start to
next year.
wrap it up, that'd be great.
Sure. The very study that Tobacco Free Kids uses to show that youth use of vapor products is up recently revealed the 2019 results last month, and that showed that there was nearly a 30% decrease in youth usage of vapor products. We would like to assert that there are more common sense solutions to drive down youth use even further by adopting T21 laws in our state, considering licensing for responsible business owners, etc. We see by this sharp decline that occurred in 2019 that more practical solutions can work without destroying our Phoenix businesses.
Amanda,
Thank
time's
you.
up. I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much. And then all the other individuals that are listening, we got about close to 90 individuals. So if we can keep it to 2 minutes, and we're going to be kind of strict about that. All right. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Thomas Bryant. Mr. Bryant is not on the phone. Our next speaker is Bob Roberts. Our next speaker is Samantha Fillmore.
Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Perfect. Thank you. Honored member of the Council and Subcommittee, my name is Samantha Fillmore, and I'm a State Government Relations Manager at the Heartland Institute. I want to thank you for the time today to discuss the issue of potentially banning the sales of flavored electronic cigarettes and vaping devices in Phoenix. Many localities and states have proposed enacting banning flavored tobacco products altogether in an effort to combat what the media and some public health officials have declared a youth vaping epidemic. Although addressing the use of youth nicotine products is admirable, there is little evidence that flavor bans reduce youth e-cigarette use. Undoubtedly, such a ban would devastate local vape shop owners at a time when Phoenix residents and small business owners are already facing an uphill battle due to COVID-19 restrictions. Furthermore, an outright flavor ban would create a booming black market for flavored e-cigarettes that are consumed illegally by many American adults. Heartland Institute experts have examined the effects of flavor bans, finding these measures have no significant reduction on youth e-cigarette use. These cigarettes have emerged as an effective smoking cessation tool, with a recent study in the New England Journal of Medicine finding their use to be twice as effective as nicotine replacement therapy, such as gums and lozenges, and helping smokers quit. Since their introduction into the U.S. market in 2007, an estimated 3 million American adults have used these products to quit combustible cigarettes. A black market is all but guaranteed to fill the void because the law of supply and demand is always victorious. However, the black market brings with it dangers far greater than what is already available. What's more, following the coronavirus pandemic, small businesses in Phoenix are still struggling to remain open after mandated lockdowns. Placing additional regulations on businesses in the current environment is the exact opposite approach the City Council should be taking during this precautious economic period. It's disingenuous that lawmakers would purport to protect public health yet restrict access.
If we could go back to Thomas Bryant, if you are on the line.
Yes, I am on the line. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello? All right, I'll proceed. Mr. Chairman, my name is Tom Bryant, and I'm the Executive Director and Legal Counsel for the National Association of Tobacco Outlets, a trade association with member stores in Phoenix. NATO members are concerned that the City of Phoenix did not involve retailers and other stakeholders in a dialogue process to discuss the issue of underage tobacco and vapor use and work together to find an appropriate solution. Proposing to ban the sale of menthol cigarettes and flavored smokeless tobacco, cigars, pipe tobacco, and electronic cigarettes is not the answer when the use of tobacco products by underage individuals is at historic lows. Moreover, with the federal government raising the legal age to purchase tobacco from 18 to 21, this new law should be given more time to work to further reduce youth access to cigarettes and tobacco products. In addition, in February of this year, the Food and Drug Administration banned the sale of many flavored electronic cigarettes that youth were using. Moreover, manufacturers had to file special marketing applications with the FDA by September 9, 2020, just 1 month ago, for every electronic cigarette and vaping product or remove the products from the market. This led to many products no longer being sold. Also, the Arizona legislature has been working on a retail tobacco licensing bill and legislation to adopt a new legal purchase age of 21. The City of Phoenix should allow these state legislative actions to be finalized before any local ordinances are considered. NATO is based in Minnesota. 2 years ago, the City of Duluth, Minnesota adopted a flavored tobacco ban ordinance. A follow-up study confirmed that while sales of flavored tobacco products went to zero in Duluth stores, retailers within just 1 mile of the Duluth city limits experienced a 156% increase in menthol cigarette sales and an 84% increase in other flavored tobacco product sales. For all of these reasons, NATO urges you to not support a flavor ban ordinance and instead start a meaningful dialogue with retailers to address the issue of underage tobacco use. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Bob Roberts. Mr. Roberts, are you on the line? Our next speaker is Bart. Oh, Mr. Roberts, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
We can hear you.
Okay, thanks for allowing me to speak today. I own a smoke shop called Smoke It in District 1. My Smoke It store has been located and operating in Phoenix for 15 years, and we employ 3 team members. And I share the goal of limiting youth from access to tobacco products. In fact, my store has a 100% compliance rate of not selling to minors since 2007. In fact, FDA decoy inspections show that 97% compliance rate of retailers in the Phoenix area. If a flavored tobacco ban were to be implemented, my store would lose approximately 39% of sales because a variety of products are considered flavored tobacco. In addition, we'll lose sales of other products purchased by these customers when visiting the store. Banning popular products, such as menthol cigarettes, will drive customers away from local responsible businesses and send them to neighboring cities and nearby Native American communities' retail stores. The state and city will lose over $13 a carton in sales and early childhood development fund taxes. For my store and many others like mine, eliminating hundreds of flavored products will further harm responsible retailers that already are struggling due to the hardships of COVID. I've already experienced a sales decrease due to age 21 law, which, by the way, I support. Rent and other fixed costs will remain the same, and we would not survive with a loss of even 25% of sales. A flavored tobacco ban includes products beyond vape and cigarettes that are sold almost exclusively to older adult customers, such as premium cigars, flavored pipe tobacco, and chew and moist snuff. Prohibiting these products goes far beyond the intention of protecting youth. A flavor ban will not only result in expansion of the illicit market for tobacco products. Black market sellers regularly visit my store wanting to sell me non-taxed tobacco, cigarettes, and other products at deeply discounted. This kind of illicit market will only expand if a flavor ban is enacted.
Our next speaker is Bart Gerber.
Yes. I own 2 cigar stores in Phoenix called Churchill's Fine Cigars that have been in business for over 25 years. I'm a Phoenix native. I live in Phoenix, and both my businesses are in Sal DeCicio's district. My stores sell only premium handmade cigars that sell in the $2 to $30 per cigar range, and some of which are flavored. Sales of these flavored premium cigars make up almost 20% of my business, and any ban would require me to release employees, and possibly consider closing a store, along with reduced sales tax revenue to the city as those sales migrate to neighboring cities, Indian reservations, or the internet. Flavored vape and menthol cigarettes are completely different products than handmade premium cigars. Kids just do not smoke handmade flavored cigars, only adults do. They're too expensive, and the only place you can get them is in approximately 12 handmade cigar stores in the city of Phoenix, all of which are family-owned stores. These premium flavored handmade cigars are only marketed to adults and not children. They're not inhaled like cigarettes and vape, and they have extremely low levels of nicotine. We're very vigilant in enforcing the 21-year-old age restriction, which is vigorously enforced by the FDA, which already heavily regulates the premium handmade cigar industry. The FDA and the National Institute of Health recently completed a study which surveyed almost 14,000 kids between the ages of 12 and 17, and none of them had smoked a handmade flavored cigar, and only 13 of them had ever smoked any type of unflavored handmade cigar either. There's also another study of almost 900,000 cigar smokers that shows that the average age of a purchaser of a flavored handmade cigar was 52 years old. So I'm asking that you take out handmade flavored cigars from any kind of ban that you decide to enact, because it's just not an issue for use. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kimberly Kaplinsky.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Kim Kaplinsky. I really appreciate the time to speak today. I'm just a consumer. I purchased my flavored cigarettes in the city of Phoenix. If city of Phoenix decided to ban my preferred tobacco, I would simply just go outside the city or to one of the reservations surrounding our area, just like any of the other smokers that are doing now, just to avoid their taxes. My smoke shop told me recently that the state and city would lose probably $8 or more per carton plus sales tax if smokers transferred their purchases to the reservations. Also, my smoke shop has told me that they may have to close, and they would be out of work at a time when jobs are really, really difficult to come by. It seems to me that this new 21 law should be greatly limiting the young people's access, which leaves regulating just us adults. I know that from history, prohibition just doesn't work. I really do appreciate you taking the time to listen to me today. Thank you.
Our next speaker is George Johnson.
Hello, City Council. My name is George Johnson. First, I would like to say getting set up to publicly participate in today's meeting was cumbersome. Many of my customers I called to get involved registered yesterday online and were unable to log in today to make any public comment. But anyway, I manufacture traditional wooden hookah pipes, and I'm a sales agent for a company out of CD5. But I have customers in all 8 districts, many of whom come from Middle Eastern countries that don't really have faith in government or understand public participation. So it breaks my heart when I convince them to speak up and make their voices heard when they hit such resistance in signing up. Can you imagine that English is a second language navigating the online portal, especially if you're not a Roman text reader, you know, from going from Arabic to anything else? My ask today is to exempt traditional hookah products from this ordinance because of the significant population in Phoenix of Turk, Indian, Arab, Persian, Armenian, Egyptians, et cetera, that would be unable to buy and publicly practice their culture. Hookah has the second lowest consumption rate of any flavored tobacco. It is already illegal to purchase tobacco products under the age of 21 in all 50 states. It's already illegal to sell tobacco products to a minor. Can we just enforce the laws that are already on the books? And don't force legal businesses to close because a ban sounds simple. We know prohibitions typically fail. Increase the penalties. Levy a TRL to pay for more enforcement. Fund the police. Get rid of bad eggs. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. Save hookah. This is an easy fix. Ban ends. More enforcement. It's that simple. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Ben Grant.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Ben Grant, and I own a business in Phoenix, Arizona that sells and serves hookah tobacco. And I'm calling today just to ask for an exemption for hookah tobacco. I understand the point is to keep it out of hands, and I think that's important. And, you know, as far as kids smoking, you know, this isn't something that they're doing in the bathroom at high school. You know, I compare it for people who aren't used to hookah. I liken it to making a burger at home. You know, it takes, you know, the better part of 30 minutes to even prepare a hookah, you know. And you compare it to the craft beer flavors I see rainbow sherbet flavors. You know, there's all sorts of marketing out there that's already geared towards, you know, the types of things that kids look for. And so what I'm thinking is better enforcement. We need better enforcement. The one time my business was inspected, it was by the tobacco enforcement officer, and there's one of them for the entire state. I can't imagine how long it takes him to go through every single tobacco retailer and set up a, you know, essentially a sting to see if they're selling tobacco legally. So what I propose is better enforcement of the current laws. You know, this potential ban would put me out of business. It would put a lot of people I know out of business. And, you know, the thought of it is, you know, pretty terrifying to me. You know, I have everything invested in my business. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sammy Alouche.
Good morning, and thank you everybody for your time. I own two businesses in Arizona, one a hookah lounge and one a vape shop. So I'll discuss the hookah lounge idea first. Most of my customers are over the age of 25. Hookah and hookah lounge has been a safe space for a lot of adults that don't want to consume alcohol. And so that's why they are frequent visitors to hookah bar establishments, because you get to relax and enjoy, you know, an environment that they choose without having to be intoxicated. So please carve out hookah from the flavor ban. And also, no kids can take a hookah around to school, so that obviously doesn't make any sense. In regards to the vape and e-cigarettes, I have over 8,000 customers that I've helped quit smoking cigarettes, combustible cigarettes. So whatever the statistics are, I can only have the data that I can provide to you, and that is that I've helped a lot of people over the age of 21 switch from cigarettes to vape. And if the flavor ban happens and we have to close, then people will just go back to smoking cigarettes. And just like back in the day, everybody in school, anybody in school that was going to do something bad was going to do it, whether it be alcohol or smoking or what have you. So I agree with George and Ben that enforcement should be better. Penalties would help create a more strict environment. That way, nobody sells to underage. More signs, you know, for 21 and over, and we just need to. Everybody needs to do their part. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Rima Corey.
Yay. Good morning, Chairman Nowakowski and council members. My name is Rima Corey. I'm General Counsel for Pumari and founding member of the National Hookah Community Association. One of our main goals is to educate lawmakers on the unique cultural significance of hookah. Hookah is not vape. According to the CDC study published in 2019, hookah is one of the least used tobacco products used by high school students at 3.4%. Hookah is a centuries-old cultural tradition that is actively practiced by Arabs, Persians, Armenians, Turks, and Indians. Hookahs are a uniquely social custom and are often offered as a sign of respect. I am Palestinian American, and some of the cultural customs that we celebrate is food, dancing, music, and hookah. This is our culture. Hookahs are 3 feet tall on average and cannot be easily concealed in your pocket or backpack. They take 20 to 30 minutes to set up and require an external heat source and cost over $200 for all its different, there's about 10 different parts and components. So kids are not using hookahs in schools and in the bathrooms. And as many people have said, you know, there are federal laws that are across all 50 states where it's in January, it made it required to be 21 and over. In February, federal government banned flavored e-cartridges. And just recently, last month, in September 9th, was a deadline for FDA for all vape and hookah to be compliant. I mean, if we could just focus and really balance the interest and not create collateral damage and narrowly draft any type of regulation to minimize unintended consequences. Other things to be considered, you know, is limiting sales to 21 and over outlets or tobacco retail licenses. Thank you for your consideration.
Our next speaker is Nyama Donahue.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Nick Donahue, and I'm a small business owner, and I am asking for an exemption for hookah products from this flavor ban. Please save my business. Please don't destroy my life. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gio Galarza. I'm sorry, he's not on the line. Our next speaker is Desiree Valencia. I'm sorry, she's also not on the line. Our next speaker is Gabriel Sandoval.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, you there?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Thank you for giving me the time to speak up. I own a small business, Hookah Lounge, downtown Phoenix. And we're all just asking for an exemption for hookah. We have been in business for 10 years. We've been tried and tested by, by setting up the underage smokers. We received a letter of thank you from Maricopa County. We try to comply. We comply with everything that's been thrown at us, especially with the 21 and over. We agree with the rules and regulations. We just don't agree with banning what we do. We've been in business for 10 years, like I said, and this is all we do. Personally, I have no other job. I have 3 kids, so the flavor ban would really basically get rid of my life. So just asking for an exemption, and thank you for the consideration.
Our next speaker is Sam Sterog. I'm sorry, he's not on the line. Our next speaker is Kaylee Piper. I'm sorry, she's also not on the line. And our next speaker is John Dixon.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to speak. My name is John Dixon. I am a past president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executive, former chief of police, and currently represent a coalition of about 10,000 law enforcement officers across the country. First and foremost, let me clearly state that bans don't work. Prohibitions don't, if we go back to prohibition, we can look at that it didn't work, and the mafia gained probably the biggest boost in their power during that prohibition stage. War on drugs was a war on people of color. People went to jail during that time period in all of slavery. Zero tolerance, 3 strikes you out, and stop and frisk all bad policies with unintended consequences that were put in place. This is what created civil unrest and deaths of Eric Gardner, George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor, and countless of others. The police don't need one more tactic to stop people of color, especially at a time when police reform is so important across the country. Police have enough work to do without adding this unfunded mandate. Let's, address this problem through treatment and education, not with intimidation and harassment. So, remember Ferguson. Remember so many of these cities that had so much civil unrest. It all started with these bad came in place, and the enforcement of these bad policies, and especially the one-sided enforcement of the policies. Those who smoke menthol, who choose to smoke menthol, about 80% of minorities who choose to smoke menthol, choose to smoke it, and that would be a focused enforcement of those people. Thank you so much for your time.
Our next speaker is Nicole Olmstead.
Good morning, Chairman Nowakowski and Council and committee members. On behalf of the American Heart Association, Greater Phoenix Division, I would like to thank you for bringing this issue before the committee. My name is Nicole Olmstead, and I am the Government Relations Regional Lead for the American Heart Association. We are a relentless force for a world of longer, healthier lives. Nearly 16% of people in Arizona smoke, and according to the National Youth Tobacco Survey, over 30% of high school students use tobacco. Flavored tobacco products are contributing to the epidemic use by youth. The most popular flavors, menthol and fruity flavors, mask the harsh taste of the tobacco, making it easier to use and become addicted to this deadly addictive product. Further, these products are marketed to be attractive to youth. Tobacco companies spend over $9.1 billion per year to promote their products. That is nearly $25 million every single day. It is no wonder that we have a new generation of youth addicted to nicotine. As you heard earlier, the tobacco industry is working very hard to enact their own regulations to be administered by the Department of Liquor Licensing and Control. This effort was met with stiff opposition from a broad community concerned about the health of our community and did not make it out of committee, despite being portrayed as on the fast track to pass. The sole goal of this effort is to preempt cities like Phoenix from enacting ordinances that make sense and protect the health of their residents. Should the industry have their way during the 2021 legislative session, it will most certainly contain broad preemption. We must address the ease of access to flavored tobacco in our community. On behalf of the American Heart Association, Greater Phoenix Division, we ask that the committee direct the city attorney to research options to address the sale of flavored tobacco. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Nathan Kohler.
Hello, my name is Nathan Kohler. I want to thank you guys for letting me speak today. I represent a company based here in the Phoenix area. We have been in the Phoenix area for about 5 years now. We have 11 stores statewide and 3 of them within the Metro Phoenix area. We run convenience stores, gas stations. And I just wanted to talk about the direct effect this would have on our business. And I think all gas stations and smoke shops can speak on the same, on this. The amount of business we would lose. We, not only to our tobacco customers who are coming in, the cigarette sales, but also what those people would be buying otherwise, coming in, buying gas, buying drinks, buying food products from us. We rely on that income to come into our locations to be able to employ people. And especially during these trying times when unemployment is so high, we as a company want to keep as many people employed as we can, and this would directly affect that. We would have to look into, laying people off or furloughing employees because of these kind of situations, and because people, they're going to get their products, like has been said. If we're not able to sell these products to them, They're going to go to Glendale. They're going to go to Scottsdale. They're going to go to the reservations. And in all, I mean, we are suffering, and so is the city of Phoenix. You know, those taxes that would come in, you know, to repair our roads, to, you know, keep our police force running. You know, that money has to come from somewhere. And if it's not coming from retailers, you know, it's what is it going to affect? Who is it going to affect within our cities? So that's all. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Debbie DiCarlo. As she's not on the line, our next speaker is Will Humble.
Public Health Association. We're a membership organization interested in good public health policy. I won't take too much time. I'll give some more minutes away. My main ask is that you ask the city attorney and the city staff to think through what a responsible ordinance would look like. There's been some good testimony today from members of the hookah community and others, and we urge you to we're not urging any particular ordinance, but rather that you ask the city staff to come up with options that focus specifically on youth use and use data to help drive the ordinance so that you don't cause the kind of collateral damage that we've been hearing about today. Because I know that there are some data, for example, the population assessment of tobacco, the PATH study, that gives some targeted data that shows what kinds of policies can be effective so that we avoid young people being addicted to these, specifically electronic cigarettes that have such high nicotine levels. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ronnie Swice.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ronnie. I'm a business owner in the city of Phoenix. I just want to say that, you know, that it's a little bit premature to just go ahead and combine all categories of tobacco products, including vapor, under one umbrella. It's not the same. And the FDA is, for a rarity, they actually got it right, you know, this past September by making it really difficult for new brands to come out and push for more flavors. The other issue is the enforcement. You know, the Attorney General with collaboration of the police departments in local cities is a way to check for underage sales. The calls earlier, you know, were all about just defunding police. So the enforcement is going to be really tough. And it's just going to create a black market, and it's not going to be in the, it's not going to help anybody when that happens. And it's going to be easy to start that black market. If anybody remembers the name Eric Garner, he's the one that died because he couldn't breathe after the police stepped on him, you know, and he was selling loose cigarettes in a black market. And this is what you're going to be dealing with here soon. So I would say hold your brakes a little bit and study this furthermore before you just go ahead and punish the businesses that are operating legally while opening up a wide open market for illegal activity. You know, tobacco, just the MSA payments in 2019 were $93 million for the state, 2.2 since 98. $2.2 billion since 98, not including the tobacco tax that's being collected. So think this through before you go ahead and shoot first and ask questions later, and include the
Our next speaker is Stephanie Siete.
Good morning, and thank you for your time. Yes, my name is Stephanie Siete, and I support a full flavor ban here in Phoenix. I'm the Public Information Officer for Community Bridges, Inc. We're a behavioral healthcare system, provide treatment here in Arizona. Been doing that for over almost 40 years. I'm also representing PAVE this morning, which is the Parents Against Vaping and E-Cigarettes. I'm a volunteer member. They're a national organization, and I'm proud to serve here in Arizona. So I've worked in the field of drug prevention education for over 20 years. And it's just so interesting that my career started out with tobacco education in the schools, trying to save kids from going down the line of addiction. I can clearly remember teaching kids about how addictive nicotine was. And back then I was telling them, good thing liquid nicotine doesn't exist because those droplets, they could be fatal. Good thing we don't have that. Well, you fast forward and here we are with newer, sleeker, more appealing flavorful devices that are filled with liquid nicotine. They're sweet, they're candy, they smell good, and they're very appealing to a teenager. And let's not forget even a toddler, because they put things in their mouths, and with over 15,000 flavors, again, candy and dessert scented, it's a risk. So I think we just have to do our job as a society to heighten standards and expectations and fight back against big money industries like the tobacco industry. We just have to do the right thing. Increase opportunities to save people, not hurt them. You know, if we're talking teens, they need direction, examples, they need guidance, restrictions on addictive products. I think it's always been too easy to access drugs like alcohol and tobacco. And I just think we got to make these less appealing to a teenager. You know, back in the day, tobacco, the smell of it was very distinct. It stunk. People didn't like it. And now we've, got kids more inclined to do it because it smells good. And we've got more kids interested and tempted in trying it. So all that, I've been working with youth for over 20 years, and I just know firsthand how kids, good ones, can make bad decisions. You have kids who are more interested now than ever in these flavors. You've got kids that are in middle schools that have been exposed to it. I'll wrap this up and just say we need to give kids a chance, remove this stuff from the market. Kids follow trends and temptations, and they don't have a lot of experience. So education, age restriction, and removal of flavors is key. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dorian Furman.
Hi, thank you. My name is Dorian Furman, and I'm co-founder of Parents Against Vaping e-cigarettes. We started PAVE in 2018 as a grassroots response to the predatory behavior of e-cigarettes and vaping companies like Juul. But what began as 3 moms sitting around the kitchen table has turned into a national grassroots movement of parents, including many here in Phoenix, who won't stand by and let big tobacco target our kids. We get letters every day from parents whose lives are upended by their kids' serious and severe addiction to flavored e-cigarettes, which contain extremely high levels of nicotine and come in thousands of flavors, which entice kids to use these products. And according to Dr. Nora Volkov of the National Institute of Drug Abuse, flavors can reinforce this addiction. The data is clear that vaping has serious negative impacts on children's long-term health. E-cigarettes contain enormous amounts of nicotine that can cause anxiety, depression, mood disorders, and permanent cognitive change to an adolescent's developing brain and create pathways for further addiction. Flavored tobacco products harm our kids' precious developing lungs, and it is even more essential now that we protect Phoenix kids during the COVID pandemic. While the new data from the 2020 National Youth Tobacco Survey shows that fewer kids are vaping, the numbers remain at epidemic levels. The data actually reveals greater levels of addiction as more kids are using these products every single day. Additionally, the use of disposable products such as Stig and Puff Bar, which were exempted from federal guidance, have increased by 1,000%. Yes, 1,000%. We ask you to direct the city attorney to research all options to create a comprehensive ordinance to address the sale of flavored tobacco products in the city of Phoenix. It is more important now than ever that cities like Phoenix lead by example and join the growing list of cities and states like California, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and many others to ban all flavored tobacco products and protect a generation of kids from a lifetime of nicotine addiction. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mark Barnes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Mr. Chairman and subcommittee members, my name is Mark Barnes with the Preventing Tobacco Addiction Foundation, and I'm here in support of the city establishing additional controls on the sale of tobacco and related products. The Preventing Tobacco Addiction Foundation was founded in 1996 by an Arizona physician, and since then has worked with local governments around the nation to put in place regulations that effectively reduce access to these products by individuals under the age of 21. In December last year, we appeared before this same subcommittee to urge the city to consider developing a comprehensive ordinance that would effectively reduce access to tobacco-related products. We would encourage the city to develop an ordinance that includes the following elements. First and foremost, ban the sale of flavored tobacco products, like others have discussed here. Establish a retail tobacco license, essentially require retailers that sell tobacco-related products to be licensed by the city, and prohibit retailers from selling tobacco products to individuals under the age of 21. Although that's the federal law, there still needs to be enforcement at the local level to augment the federal enforcement, which is not sufficient in the Phoenix area. These elements of an ordinance fit together well and have been used by other jurisdictions to combat youth vaping and the resurgence of tobacco use by high school-aged kids. We have submitted a letter in support of the city developing an ordinance with the elements I've described here. In addition, our organization will be happy to lend our legal expertise to assist in the drafting process. Finally, several of the other speakers encourage you to wait for state action on this issue. The legislation on this issue that was referenced by earlier speakers was voted down by a Senate committee well before COVID-19 interrupted the legislative session. Phoenix is the home to 1.7 million people and should not wait for state action that may never come. Once again, we support the city developing an ordinance on this that follows some of the options that Julie Krug covered in her presentation to this group earlier in the meeting. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Jesse Welsh.
Hi, good morning, Councilman Nokowski, members of the Public Safety Committee. For the record, again, Dr. Jesse Welsh, Superintendent of the Paradise Valley Unified School District. I'd just like to share that as superintendent of one of the largest school districts within the city of Phoenix, the health and well-being of our community's youth consistently remains among my top priorities, particularly as we navigate this COVID-19 pandemic. And I hear concerns about vaping in our schools consistently from our principals, our teachers, and our students. Just last year, our district nearly lost a Pinnacle High School student who went into cardiac arrest and a coma caused by excessive vaping. And the ease with which students can obtain, conceal, distribute, and use vape devices on school campuses is alarming, despite our best efforts to curb such activities. In the 2019 Arizona Youth Survey, it was noted that 46% of high school seniors and 28% of 8th graders reported that they have used e-cigarettes or vaping devices on one or more occasion. And 1 out of every 6 Arizona high school students currently uses e-cigarettes. 97% of those are using flavored products. Similarly, when you look at the national level, the 2020 National Youth Tobacco Survey by the CDC found that among high school students who currently use any type of flavored e-cigarettes, they go for flavors like fruit, mint, and menthol. We all know that nicotine is a highly addictive drug, and adolescents who are still going through critical periods of growth and development are particularly vulnerable to its effects. There was a recent study that found here in Phoenix, 41% of public schools are within 1,000 feet of a tobacco retailer, making it very easy for students to get. I would just like to share my support for the development and passage of an ordinance to end the sale of flavored tobacco products within the city of Phoenix and offer my support if I can help in any way. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Philip Carpenter.
Good morning, council members. My name is Philip Carpenter, and I am the Executive Director of Arizonans Concerned About Smoking, ACAS. It's long overdue to start reversing the worsening youth e-cigarette epidemic and stop tobacco companies from using appealing flavors to lure kids into a lifetime of addiction. According to Campaign for Tobacco for Kids, there are 115,000 kids now under 18 and alive in Arizona who will ultimately die prematurely from smoking. This is very similar to what Big Tobacco has done in years past. It comes at a critical time with growing concern among health experts that smoking and vaping can worsen the effects of COVID-19. Ending the sale of flavored tobacco products is a necessary step to reverse skyrocketing youth use of e-cigarettes and tobacco products and help prevent nicotine from addicting a new generation. It's never beneficial for a young developing brain to become addicted to anything. A recent study also concluded that e-cigarette use might be related to sleep deprivation in young adults. ACAS requests you direct the city attorney to research all options open to the city of Phoenix to create a comprehensive ordinance to address the sale of flavored tobacco, one that will withstand the industry efforts to create loopholes and exemptions and ensure they will still have access to our youth. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Karen Kleinschmidt.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. My name is Corinne Kleinschmidt, and I'm the Vice President of Health for the American Heart Association for Greater Phoenix and a resident of Valley for the past 40 years. Through the work that we do at the AHA, I know that from one side of Phoenix to the other, there is a dramatically different life expectancy. And tobacco plays a large part of that, especially products that are marketed specifically to youth and to people of color. Tobacco flavors are the primary reason that the youth tobacco use rate has skyrocketed over the past several years. As you've heard from others, they disguise the taste of nicotine and tobacco, and they make it taste like candy. I'm also a mother of a 7-year-old girl, and she has seen ads for the vaping products, and she has mistaken them as candy, which is exactly what the industry is intending. I don't want my daughter to be confused about this deadly, addictive nature of these products, like so many of our youth and young adults are today. I'm asking you to direct the city attorney to research the options and create an ordinance to address the sale of flavored tobacco products in the city of Phoenix. There are 8 times as many tobacco retailers as there are Starbucks, and that doesn't seem right. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Elizabeth Walton.
Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning, Chairman Nowakowski and council members. My name is Elizabeth Walton, and I'm the Executive Director for the American Lung Association in Arizona. The Lung Association strongly supports ending the sale of all flavored tobacco products, including flavored e-cigarettes, menthol cigarettes, and flavored cigars. The Lung Association works on behalf of the 33 million Americans, including more than 900,000 Arizonans, living with lung diseases like lung cancer and COPD, which are primarily caused by tobacco use and exposure to secondhand smoke. Tobacco is one of the most addictive substances on the planet. Flavored tobacco is especially effective at attracting and addicting kids. Tobacco use is responsible for 1 out of every 5 deaths in the US, or more than 480,000 deaths every year. Research shows that 97% of current youth e-cigarette users use flavored e-cigarettes. Flavored products are the entryway for young people to start using tobacco, and this includes mint and menthol. Nicotine is well known to have serious systemic side effects in addition to being highly addictive. It adversely affects the heart, reproductive system, lungs, and kidneys. Many studies have consistently demonstrated its carcinogenic potential. These health impacts are bad for adults, but worse for young people whose brains and bodies are still developing. I ask you to direct the city attorney to research all options to create an ordinance to address the sale of flavored tobacco products in the city of Phoenix. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gio Galarza.
Yes, my name is Gio Galarza. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. My name is Gio Galarza. I'm the founder of I Love LA Homeless, Phoenix Chapter 501c3 organization. I served my country in the United States Marine Corps from 93 till 99. Most of the time, I was a machine gunner in a weapons battalion company. In 99, I was discharged with honorable discharge. I was also in the IR program for 4 more years till 2003. For the past 6 years, I have focused on serving my country in another way, and that's why by working with our homeless population, it is estimated that by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, there's about 1,000 homeless living out there in the state, many of which here in Phoenix. A lot of these veterans smoke, and many of them smoke flavored tobacco. It is commonly understood that smoking is a coping mechanism. I'm sorry, it's a coping mechanism, and I don't smoke myself, and I don't encourage it. I don't encourage smoking either. You know, I don't encourage that. But I feel strongly that the most vulnerable of our society who do choose to smoke should be able to do so without fear of legal consequences or repercussions. Therefore, I would hate to see an underground economy develop out of policy that prohibits the sale of flavored tobacco, only to create a pipeline to incarceration and other legal issues. I fought for my country, and I believe in the freedom for adults to make personal choices that do not harm others. A flavored tobacco ban goes into the opposite direction of what I fought for. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Desiree Valencia.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello? Okay, perfect. Hi, my name is Desiree Valencia, and I live at Via de Food Apartments. I have concerns about a proposed menthol ban and what it means for an already struggling economy here due to COVID. I've seen many mom-and-pop liquor stores, gas stations, and carnicerias that are in danger of closing down. I know that when customers go into these places to purchase cigarettes, they also purchase other items at the same time. If customers are no longer able to purchase tobacco in these businesses, they'll just end up going somewhere outside the city limits to purchase tobacco and whatever other products that they need and want. Outlawing flavored tobacco in the city limits will not decrease usage. It will just force people to spend their money elsewhere, and the city of Phoenix will lose another tax source that we so desperately need. This kind of policy just doesn't make any sense. Thanks for your time.
Our next speaker is Kaylee Piper.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, Councilman. My name is Kaylee Piper. I'm born and raised in Phoenix. I work at a hookah lounge on 19th Avenue in Thomas. We have never had a violation and always check ID, yet we can be forced to close if an exemption for traditional hookah products is not made. Hookah has nearly 1,000 years of cultural significance in many Middle Eastern societies. When they're immigrated to the U.S., they open business sharing their food, belly dancing, and hookah. My employer has put nearly a decade building his business with the sweat off his own back. We have families to feed, and with the stroke of a pen, it could all be taken away. Please know hookah is not vaping, and you cannot conflate the two. Save hookah, save my job, and please preserve the community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mark Miller. I'm sorry, he's not on the line. Our next speaker is Bashir Dabane. I'm sorry, he's not on the line. Our next speaker is Richard Rabani. I'm sorry, he is also not on the line. Our next speaker is Brianna Weeks. Ms. Weeks, are you on the line? I don't think we're getting audio from Ms. Weeks. Our next speaker is Jorge Valadez.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jorge Valadez. I am in 10th grade at ACHS in Phoenix. I am speaking to you today in this effort to eliminate the sale of flavored tobacco products in the city of Phoenix. And in the partnership with the wide collection of students and other adults that support who are in favor of measuring for details of the tobacco industry has targeted the youth, Latino Americans, and products appealing easy to use and high highly addictive flavored tobacco products. I have seen the negative effects of this in my school and my community. As early as the 1980s, the tobacco industry has attempted to capture the Hispanic population as a young, growing gr- geography, creation, creation, and brand loyalty market. Currently, 23.2% of Hispanic school students use e-cigarettes. We have an opportunity now to protect all communities here in the city of Phoenix from the harmful target marketing and sales of tobacco products towards the communities of color. By eliminating kid-friendly flavors, we can prevent the next generation of youth, my peers, from a lifetime of addiction. I ask you to direct direct the city authority to reach all opinions and to create a comprehensive ordinance to address the sale of flavored tobacco products in the city of Phoenix. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Neda Kshobhaba. I'm sorry, she's not on the line. Our next speaker is Geoff Habicht.
Here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Members of the committee, thank you for having me. I'll also be submitting my comments for the record. My name is Jeff Havoc, and I'm a business owner here in Phoenix. I oppose the flavor ban and respectfully asked for stakeholder meetings to find a responsible way forward. We've been in business since 2008 and employ more than 30 people. We've represented Phoenix as an Inc. 5000 award winner for 5 years as one of America's best private businesses. We pay over $1 million in combined taxes to the state every year. This ban would decimate our business, the lives of the 30 families we support, and the thousands of Phoenicians that we serve. Now, I respect the emotion attached to this topic, and I believe there are non-draconian solutions to prevent youth access. If nothing else, include the very businesses you tend to eliminate in this discussion. This is a case where such a step would have a significant negative impact on local businesses, including employment, tax revenue, and even viability, all without addressing the problem. We found in jurisdiction after jurisdiction that customers won't abandon the product. They'll just find it in a neighboring store, Indian reservation, or God forbid, the black market. This is proven to be true in states that have banned flavors. And in those areas, it's consistently reported it has no impact on youth use, and it creates a black market issue. We know that black market counterfeit products create unacceptable health risks, and even black market legitimate products bypass normal retail oversight, tax collection, and law enforcement. Enforcement issue because of its effectiveness. The latest National Youth Tobacco Survey shows significant declines in year-over-year vape use, and this is because of enforcement, namely the federal restrictions on JUUL products and the enforcement of T21. I agree that all continued efforts should be made to eliminate youth sales, but removing flavored vapor products is contrary to the goal of eliminating combustible tobacco products. Research shows that flavors are the main reason that former cigarette smokers are able to switch and stay away from cigarettes. And whether you know it or not, the issue of flavors is being addressed by the FDA. All flavors have to be permitted with the FDA through their pre-market tobacco authorization process, and that was as of September 9th, which was over a month ago. Companies like mine have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to scientifically show that our products are appropriate for the protection of public health. We believe in doing the right thing to preserve adult choice while protecting our community. And to close, we are not big tobacco. We're an AZ business with Arizona families and members of this community. Our mission continues to be to improve the lives of adult smokers and their families by eradicating the harm caused by smoking. Prohibition doesn't work. It's illogical and
Our next speaker is Sissy Veteran. Our next speaker is Sidhu Madhu. Oh, he is also not online. Our next speaker is Alexa Warman. Alexa, are you on the line?
Good morning, Chair Noah. Hi, I'm here. Can you hear
Great.
me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Nowakowski and committee members. My name is Alexa Warman, and I'm the Community Advocacy Advisor for the American Heart Association, Greater Phoenix Division. I want to start by thanking you for your leadership in working to keep tobacco out of the hands of our kids. The easy availability of flavored tobacco is contributing to skyrocketing rates of youth tobacco use. Fruit, mint, menthol, and candy flavors make tobacco products more attractive to kids because they mask the harsh taste of tobacco and make these products seem harmless. Because of this, the industry considers these starter products for youth. In fact, over 80% of kids who have used tobacco started with a flavored product. All flavored tobacco products are alluring to kids, highly addicting, and deadly. Through our work in the community, we have heard from teachers, parents, and healthcare professionals asking for help on how to stop this problem. At the Heart Association, we have tools like school curriculum, parent guidance, and community health programming to help combat this crisis. But we need your help to reduce access to these deadly products at the retail level. We need your leadership to put the health of our kids over tobacco profits driven by addiction. Please ask the city attorney to research all options open to the city of Phoenix to address the sale of flavored tobacco, one that will withstand industry efforts to create loopholes that ensure they will still have access to our kids. Thank you for your consideration and thank you for your work.
Our next speaker is Sam Sterog. He's not on the line. Our next speaker is Alexia Valencia. I'm sorry, she's not on the line. Our next speaker, Mark Miller. Hold on just a second. Our next speaker is Matt Berger. Mr. Berger is not on the line. Our next speaker is Whitney Anglin. Whitney, are you on the
Good
line?
morning. Yes,
We can
I
hear
am
you.
Whitney Anglin, and I'm Whitney Anglin, and I am reading a testimony on behalf of Monica Baez, who is a youth ambassador for Tobacco-Free Kids. My name is Monica Baez, and I am a high school student in Phoenix. I am here in support of item 3 on today's agenda and speak on behalf of a wide coalition of youth and adult youth supporters in favor of this measure. The tobacco industry has targeted kids, especially communities of color, with menthol cigarettes for decades. Now youth are targeted more than ever with e-cigarettes and countless kid-friendly flavors, from cotton candy to bubble gum. It all comes from the same playbook of big tobacco. As a high school student, it seems like everywhere I turn, one of my peers is turning to a new flavored tobacco product. I have been seeing close relatives and friends suffer consequences of tobacco use firsthand. During this global pandemic, our health is more important than ever. Smoking weakens the immune system and leads to high risk of respiratory infections. While COVID-19 attacks the lungs, the industry knows this. Some smoke shops are even handing out face masks while selling their merchandise, as if masks will help, when smoking flavored tobacco products are already weakening the lungs' functions. Yesterday, and in advance of this hearing today, our coalition filed a citizens petition in support of Flavors Ordinance. The original petition was filed with the clerk, and copies will be soon sent to each of your offices. It wasn't easy to do in the middle of a pandemic, but we collected over 6,000 signatures of Phoenix residents in all parts of the city. Further evidence that the epidemic of youth tobacco and e-cigarette use is not just a concern to the members of our coalition in the public health education and children advocacy and justice social communities, but the Phoenix community as a whole. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Anthony Mustachio.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. My name is Anthony Mustachio. I'm a 10th grader in Paradise Valley High School here in Phoenix. As a sophomore in high school and I'm a student athlete, I've seen firsthand that people my age who vape are no longer the exception but the norm. Officially, 20.8 of high schoolers vape, but that seems extremely low compared to what I've seen. I only could find 5 or so of my friends who don't use nicotine devices. I've played sports throughout high school, and I've seen firsthand how nicotine addiction affects my teammates. That affects my teammates. It's normalized in my school to use tobacco, and it is looked as the outlier for you not to. It maybe even as not cool. I don't understand why this is a thing, and I've seen how hard it can affect the student athletes and even just the students, with students who can't even make it through a class without having to go to the bathroom and use a nicotine device. I ask you to direct the city attorney to make a change to stop the sale of flavored tobacco products. To my peers and to other Phoenix youth, a comprehensive ordinance desperately needs to be created to address the sale of flavored tobacco products in the city of Phoenix. I ask you to direct the city attorney to research all options to create a comprehensive ordinance to address the sale of flavored tobacco products in the city of Phoenix. About 80% of teens who vape started because of flavors, and I think flavors hide the true nature of nicotine devices and is a gateway to crippling nicotine addiction for the rest of their lives. It's a public health crisis, and we need to treat it like one. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Philip Gardner. I'm sorry, he's not on the line. Our next speaker is JJ Bazzi. I'm sorry, they're no longer on the line. Our next speaker is Nolan Spence.
Hi guys, my name is Nolan Spence. I work for Regal Hookah. I would like to provide some ideas on solutions in opposed to a ban. Remove tobacco from gas stations and liquor stores and grocery stores, limited to 21 and up locations. Thus, youth will not be able to see the packaging and the bright colors. Number 3, third-party ID verification software at point of sales. TRLs and fines that feed enforcement. Provide tools for local law enforcement to issue citations for minors in possession and persons furnishing to minors, and helping educators with programs and curbing youth warped perceptions on vaping products. Ban the electronic devices themselves, as that's the hardest component to make. People can make vaping products easily in their own bathtubs. How can we address the problem of youth access when they're more likely to buy online? Where are they more likely to go to? A store where they have to show their face and use an ID, or where they can go online and just click that they are of age? Number 7, ban all tobacco or ban flavored marijuana as well. Why not ban flavored alcohol? There is no hookah vaping pens. That is just a vape marketing tool to target our community. So if there is an exemption that is considered for hookah, please include the term non-electronic to prevent a loophole. I'm here to give you honest and genuine help. Thank you so much for your time.
Our next speaker is Emily Mueller.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
Okay, so good morning, council members. I'm Emily Mueller. I'm a nursing student at the downtown campus of Arizona State University. I started vaping in the summer between my junior and senior year when I was only 16 years old. As I knew tobacco was bad for me, it came in fruity flavors. It attracted my attention, and I am now 18 years old, and I just finally stopped or ended my battle with my addiction towards nicotine. I knew which stores would or would not card and who would sell to someone underage and which stores had the juices I liked. What I didn't realize that while I was becoming addicted to nicotine, I didn't realize the damage I was doing to my body and my lungs. It took me 2 years to get off of it. And young adults just like me are struggling the same exact way I have been. I wish I was unique. I'm not. Most of my friends are using e-cigarettes and other forms of tobacco. I don't want other kids and other young adults like my sister and my brother to struggle the way I did. And I'm lucky I had a support system who helped me get off of the terrible, terrible addiction I had. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.
Our next speaker is Bob England.
Oops. Good morning, Chairman Nowakowski and members of the subcommittee. Thanks for hearing us out. I'm Dr. Bob England. I was the former director of the Maricopa County Department of Public Health until leaving there in 2018. And I'm still proud to be a Phoenix resident, by the way. I'd like to join the others you've heard from here to encourage you to direct staff to simply explore what you can do about this issue at a local level. And I'd note you've heard some interesting ideas already this morning, as well as pleased to participate in that process. There are two reasons I think this is worth your time. First, you can't know what the long-term effects of something is until a long time has passed, obviously, but there are really good reasons to worry about vaping, the widespread inclusion of chemicals known to cause serious pulmonary disease or suspected, but for which we have no good data, as well as early but mounting evidence of pulmonary and cardiac effects among those who vape. The fear is that we're risking creating large fractions of entire generations of people who may have serious chronic disease by the time they're in midlife. And the second reason to make me think this is worth your time is that we know that flavors attract many youth to vape who otherwise wouldn't. And whatever you can reasonably do to protect Phoenix youth, I'd encourage you to explore. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Brian Hummel.
Hi, thank you, Chairman Nowakowski, members of the committee. Good morning, my name is Brian Hummel. I'm a 15-year resident of Phoenix and the father of two. I'm also the Arizona Director of Government Relations for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, the advocacy arm of the American Cancer Society. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Almost a year ago, this committee heard comments regarding the need for additional tobacco regulation in the city. In the subsequent period, the U.S. Congress raised the minimum tobacco sales age to 21. The Arizona legislature was again unable to come to consensus on increased tobacco regulation, and the world was plunged into a public health crisis. This morning, this committee is being asked to move forward in allowing work to be done to develop an ordinance to more fully regulate tobacco in the city. Tobacco is a dangerous product. And while Arizona can be lauded for some very proactive tobacco measures very early in the decade, simply put, it is clear that we are not doing enough. Last year, in the compliance checks done through the state and federal entities in Arizona called Counterstrike, 16% of the limited number of retailers inspected failed. They sold to minors. Even after the federal law changed to 21, retailers sold tobacco products to 15, 16, and 17-year-olds. As part of a Channel 12 news investigation earlier this year, the Attorney General was quoted as saying that the Arizona retailers view the minimal fines as the cost of doing business. It's time for the city to act. The city of Phoenix has an opportunity to protect public health regarding tobacco. Waiting for the state, as some have suggested, not only delays needed action, but also would likely tie your hands to do something needed in your community through preemption. We urge this committee to direct the city attorney to develop language that regulates tobacco. From the perspective of ACS CAN, that would include the prohibition of the sale of flavors across all tobacco products with a tobacco retail license as an enforcement mechanism. Based on the possible list of recommendations,
Our next speaker is Mark Vrabel. I'm sorry, he's not on the line. Our next speaker is Lee Ann Kelly. Dr. Kelly, are you on the line? Our next speaker is Devin Del Palacio.
Good morning, Chairman Nowakowski and esteemed committee members. My name is Devin Del Palacio. I am the Director of Community Relations for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona. Our mission is to create and support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. And our vision is that all youth achieve their full potential. And we've been in this city for over 60 years and have always operated under the belief that inherent in every child is the ability to succeed and thrive in life. But we feel that there is an urgent threat, the threat of flavored e-cigarette products, tobacco products, which could potentially halt our youth from reaching their full potential. And so as the middle of March 2020, when schools closed down because of COVID-19, we know that 19.6% of high school students and 4.7% of middle school students are current e-cigarette users. And as we've heard already, here in Arizona, nearly 1 in 6 high schoolers are vaping. So nearly 40% of high school e-cigarette users and 20% of middle school e-cigarette users are vaping at least 20 days a month. So we are deeply, deeply concerned. And so we just asked the committee to direct the city attorney to research all options to create a comprehensive ordinance to address the sale of flavored tobacco products in the city of Phoenix. And I'll leave you with just a quote from our Health and Human Services Secretary, Alex Czar, who says that here in the United States, we have never seen an epidemic of substance use arise as quickly as our current epidemic of youth usage of e-cigarettes. With that, I thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Keith Mickle. I'm sorry, he's not on the line. Our next speaker is Harold Mackey.
Good morning. My name is Harold Mackey. I'm with the Help Enrich African American Lives Coalition. I am the chairperson. We are a coalition built on prevention in our service area. Excuse me. It's from Camelback Road, South Mountain Range, 48th Street to 83rd Avenue. I apologize for my voice. I have very bad allergies. Our vision is to promote a community that embodies every aspect of health and wellness in all communities. Our mission is to enrich the quality of African American lives, through community engagement and collaboration, as well as to identify needs and develop prevention strategies that support healthy decision-making for better lifestyle outcomes. And our goal is to increase the adult perception of harm of the African American youth substance misuse of alcohol, marijuana, and prescription drugs, and to identify the associated risk and prevention factors. So I'm here really to provide a couple of statistics And then I have an ask. Again, flavored e-cigarettes continue the tobacco industry's long history of targeting kids with flavored products, especially the African American community. Flavored, as you've heard before, flavors improve the taste and mask the harshness of tobacco products, making it easier for kids to try the product and ultimately become addicted. Lower income neighborhoods in South and West Phoenix have a higher tobacco retailer density than higher income neighborhoods in the city. Over 41% of the neighborhoods are within 1,000 feet of tobacco. As a
Our next speaker is Chris Olson.
I work for a company that owns some convenience stores in the city of Phoenix, and we are very diligent in enforcing the laws to prevent children and underage tobacco users from purchasing those products. We fully support the underage ban and the 21 age limit. However, the outright ban of all flavored tobacco seems to me to be the easy way out. It's very easy to just ban something and that will make the problem go away when we all know it will not. I think responsible enforcement, which should be done more at the local level, is the right way to go. I don't think it's right to ban all products for adults who have every right to decide how they want to operate their lives and in what activities they want to engage in as long as they're legal. So we do not support this full-out ban on menthol flavored tobacco. We certainly enforce and respect and want to enforce the underage ban for children. Thank you very much for listening to me today.
Our next speaker is Steve Watson.
Hi, thank you, Chairman Nowakowski and City Council members. I am Steve Watson, the Maricopa County School Superintendent, and included in my constituency across Maricopa County are your constituents in the city of Phoenix. I'm also a lifelong resident of Phoenix, and 5 of my children, 6 children, attend traditional public schools here. And I am in support of a ban of flavored tobacco products. I spent 15 years as a high school teacher, and I recall my first time experiencing a electronic tobacco product at school. I taught in a computer lab, and I was walking through the computer lab after class one day, cleaning up and picking up the floor, and I found what I thought was a USB drive. And I thought, oh, some sad student has lost their USB drive, and I picked it up, and I tried to figure out what it was, and I began Googling. And it was a heating element for an e-cigarette or a juuling product. And I began to find these much more common around campus to and from school. And so these flavored tobacco products are making their way into the hands of our students, and they're having a direct impact on their lives and their health. Flavored tobacco is contrary to the work that I'm doing as the county school superintendent, and we're trying to encourage healthy, safe, educated kids. And unfortunately, there's money to be made at the expense of the health and welfare of children, and that money is being made by flavored tobacco products. So I'd like to ask you to draft an ordinance to address flavored tobacco usage, including all flavors for e-cigarettes and all other tobacco products. And thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Mark Miller.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Oh, good. Good morning, Chairman Nowakowski and fellow Phoenix City Council members. Thank you for your service to Phoenix. My name is Mark Miller. I represent the Arizona Food. Our office is downtown Phoenix. We represent both small independent markets as well as large convenience and grocery chains. We want to work with you to develop a plan of action for tobacco products, which includes the city of Phoenix and all the other cities that are contiguous to Phoenix. There are over 700 accounts that sell tobacco products within 5 miles of your Phoenix borders, moving consumers to purchase tobacco from other cities does not really solve our problem or our concerns together. We are committed, our retailers are committed to following all the laws that are currently in place for selling age-restricted products. This includes alcohol and tobacco products. Our retailers have followed the national law that you heard went into place at the first of this year. All of our retailers raised on January 1st, and as you heard, training is a key component and to ensure that no one under 21 purchases tobacco in the city. As you heard also, the state legislation was working to adopt a bill to line up with the national 21 minimum age. And also the same bill was focused on the federal laws on the flavored approvals that was approved by the FDA. And I think what you heard time and time again is the enforcement part is what's so important. This bill addressed it and was working with the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control to have their sworn officers enforce the laws at the state level. They have 20 plus sworn officers that are in the accounts checking now. Protecting the city, protecting the state is everyone's business, not just one city. Please help us work together to develop a state solution. Thank you so much for your time.
Our next speaker is Ozzy Oz.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, City Council. Thanks for letting us speak in our minds to defend our rights, first of all. And I want to start with, I've read the comments and what they said, all the supporters of this ban. And it seems like they all repeat the same thing. Almost they were told to do so, like by some source. And they say that they're going against big tobacco. But what they're doing is totally opposite. They're not going against the big tobacco, not even the medium tobacco. We are small vape companies making or selling vape products. I quit smoking with the help of these products, and I am actually proud of myself. I have 3 kids. Yes, for sure, I would like to see and make a better future for them. So if you can, then let's ban all the nicotine products, cigarettes, chews, vapes, etc. No more nicotine products. Can you do that? I don't think so. Can you remove all Marlboros, Camels, alcohol products from the shelves? No, you can't. I don't think so. So what you're trying to do is trying to remove the tip of the iceberg. And then you're going to see, or they're going to see that, oh yeah, you see, we solved the problem. No, problem is not solved. 90% is still under the water. So, and then the kids are going to be offering cigarettes to their friends like they've been doing for 100 years. So the same thing will happen. This ban is like buying a car for your kid and saying, hey, I have to fix the sunroof. It's not safe. But the car has flat tires and no headlights and, you know, like no seat belts. So you're not making them safe with doing this. But if you want to fix it, if you're going to do everything to fix it, to remove everything from the shelves, I'm in. I'm okay to lose my job. I'm okay to lose my income. But if you're going to remove everything, all cigarettes, everything, all those giant companies off the shelves, let's do it. Let's do it all together. I don't think you can do it, Joe. So if you ban vapes, hookahs, cigars, and not regular cigarettes, this is not fair. But I'm confident that you will do the right thing. Thank you very much for, letting us speak.
Our next speaker is Paul Ulan.
And members of the council. My name is Paul Ulan, and I would like to read into record excerpts of 2 letters sent to the mayor and council by members of the education community. After years of success in driving down the rate of youth tobacco use, we are now experiencing a new wave of teen nicotine addiction. The primary reason, big flavors. Big tobacco uses flavors to mask the harshness of tobacco products. Clearly, their efforts to lure kids with flavors has been a success. After years of ineffective policies at the federal level, we have an opportunity to do something about this threat here in Phoenix. To do something truly meaningful in the midst of the COVID pandemic, when lung health has never been more important, I urge you to enact an ordinance to end the sale of all flavored tobacco products. Thank you, Bill Adams, Vice President of the Washington Elementary School District Governing Board. Nicotine is a highly addictive drug, and adolescents who are still going through critical periods of growth and development are particularly vulnerable to its effects. The reason for the increase in teen use and what the Surgeon General calls an epidemic is flavored tobacco. As superintendent, the health and well-being of our community's kids is one of my top priorities, which is why I support the passage of the ordinance to end the sale of all flavored tobacco products in Phoenix. Dr. Lapita Hightower, Superintendent of the Tolleson Elementary School District. Thank you for your time today.
Our next speaker is Lawrence Robinson. Lawrence, are you on the line? Our next speaker is Neil Franklin.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My name is Neil Franklin. I'm a 34-year police veteran and the executive director of the Law Enforcement Action Partnership. We're the only national law enforcement organization of police, prosecutors, corrections, and judges strategically working with the communities that we serve to dramatically reform our criminal justice system. That said, our thousands of members oppose the prohibition of any popular adult consumable product, such as menthol cigarettes. Prohibitions drive such markets underground, right into the hands of criminal organizations such as the cartels. Criminals then hire children to hold, run, and sell their goods. Street-level competition creates violence, and more deadly products flood our neighborhoods. The products will still be sold, but without the necessary government regulations controlling access by children and quality control standards. Eventually, the police are called in to stop the smuggling, illegal sales, and the violence relative to it. And during this critical time in this country, when citizens are demanding significant police reforms, like use of force policies that you'll be addressing later in this meeting, which we also support, we don't need another public policy that would increase police-citizen contacts, especially in our Black and brown communities. Don't place yet another public health issue into the hands of the police. Educate, treat, support smoking cessation programs within our communities. They are proven methods for reducing tobacco use, especially with our youth. Understand that when we ban the legal sale of such a product, you forfeit all regulatory rights and oversight to criminal organizations. Whether your current whether your current retail rate in not selling to kids is 97% or 50%, in a black market, it is 0%. Thank you very much for your time.
Our next speaker is Emily Burrows. I'm sorry, she's not on the line. Our next speaker is Carolyn Bennett. Ms. Bennett, are you on the line? We are not getting any audio from Ms. Bennett. Our next speaker is Gustavo Torres.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Gustavo Torres, Director of Advocacy here at the campus. Having worked with young people all across the country on this issue, it's unfortunately no surprise to see that 1 in 6 Arizona high school students use e-cigarettes. This is something that we have seen, and it's striking. While flavored e-cigarettes are the industry's new trick to attract kids, Big Tobacco has a long history of targeting kids with flavored tobacco products, especially menthol cigarettes. But don't take it from me. I would like to read some comments from youth and young adults, from Phoenix youth and young adults, who are unable to attend today's hearing. The first, I support the ban on products that are clearly marketed to children. LGBT youth in particular have enough to deal with without having to also be unwittingly targeted of big tobacco's shady, disingenuous, and manipulative marketing practices, of which flavored vapes are a key component. Another young person stated, the tobacco industry has targeted our Black and brown youth, children, and communities for decades. It's time to make saving lives a priority. It's time to protect our youth. It's time to protect our communities. Lastly, I support the ban on flavored tobacco and vape products because as a senior in high school, I have witnessed too many of my peers face the negative effects of these harmful products. So these quotes and the other stories you will hear today really highlight the harmful impacts of these products on communities of color and the LGBT community. This problem cannot be ignored. The solution here in the city of Phoenix is clear. I ask you to direct the city attorney to research all options to create a comprehensive ordinance in regards to sale of flavored tobacco products in Phoenix. Additionally, I just would like to close in mentioning, while it was mentioned earlier that e-cigarettes use among high school students has declined from a record 27 for 2020. This progress for the cigarette use since 2017.
Our next speaker is Lawrence Robinson.
Yes, can you hear me, Councilwoman?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Council members and esteemed neighbors, I rise on behalf of the Roosevelt School District Governing Board. Last night, our board successfully and unanimously passed a resolution in support of this policy, but more to the point, in support of knowledge. What we're trying to do here in this meeting is not come to a conclusion as to what policy will be most effective. It's just to continue to have the conversation to begin with. And I think the best lesson we can teach is that we do not have all the answers, but when we come together as a community and discuss perhaps the different data points that have been suggested, the effects on kids and our families, and also the disproportionate number of vaping and tobacco stores in our Black and brown neighborhoods, then we can come to a point and a consensus policy that protects everyone. I understand the small business owners who have a gripe here. My parents were small business owners right here in my district, in District 8. But that did not mean that they didn't also have a social responsibility. And it's that responsibility, I think, that causes me to support this. But if nothing more, then at least open the debate for more conversation. And so I respectfully ask that we research all these options to create a comprehensive ordinance to address the sale of flavored tobacco products in the city of Phoenix. And I was also asked to speak on behalf of the NAACP Maricopa County branch, who is in support, the Arizona Informant Association, the Black Mothers Forum, and many other organizations that could not speak today.
Our next speaker is Sabine Sanan. I'm sorry, they're not on the line. Our next speaker is Barbara Burkholder.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the City Council. My name is Barbara Burkholder and I live in Phoenix. I represent the board of the Arizona Asthma Coalition, and we are a statewide nonprofit with members in every county. Our mission is to reduce the burden of asthma in Arizona. We support the proposed ordinance to end the sale of flavored tobacco products. The tobacco industry targets kids with flavored products to entice them to use e-cigarettes, and the addictive nicotine keeps them hooked. Youth who use e-cigarettes are 4 times as likely to try regular cigarettes too. There is a reason that the FDA regulates tobacco: to protect the public health and reduce tobacco use by minors, because it is a dangerous product. First of all, nicotine is addictive, and in young people, it harms brain development, as you have heard today. Inhaling e-cigarettes or cigarettes is not only harmful to the lungs, but causes inflammation in the heart and blood vessels. Vaping and tobacco products are major risk factors for asthma, a lifelong chronic disease. Asthma affects 1 out of every 11 people who live in Arizona. It is a costly disease, a major cause for school absences, and over 25,000 emergency visits a year in our state. Please help us lower the burden of asthma by passing this public health policy. I ask you to direct the city attorney to research all options to create a comprehensive ordinance to address the sale of flavored tobacco products. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Patty Beckman.
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Beckman. We can hear you.
Yes. Good morning, Chairman and Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Patty Beckman, and I'm the Vice President of the Scottsdale Unified School District Governing Board. Some of our schools reside in the city of Phoenix. Vaping is a topic I find of extreme importance. You have all heard the statistics, and you think you understand the dangers of our youth, increasingly becoming addicted to vaping. But today, I'm here to discuss what I see dealing with this every single day. As I listen today, I'm made aware of all the business owners and the smokers that rallied to speak this morning. I regret that I did not rally all the addicted teens that I know to give you their perspective. While my school district and many others are rightfully focused on educating students in a COVID environment, vaping is still a huge problem and it's taking over our children. As a board member, I see 2 types of issues for discipline: physical altercations and substance abuse, mostly vaping. I cannot tell you how it saddens me to see a child as young as 12 with their entire life ahead of them stand in front of me being disciplined for vaping. Time and time again, these children will tell me that they started because of the cool flavors like banana ice, etc. These children begin young, mostly in middle school, and are completely addicted by high school. They are coming to school in fear every single day because they have developed a habit that they cannot control. And they know if they get caught, their future could be changed forever. I asked my own daughters, who are in high school, is it really this bad? They replied in teenage slang and said, "Oh my God, Mom, you have no idea. When you go into the bathroom, girls walk around saying, 'Does anyone have any Nick? Please, I need Nick.' Mom, they are panicky. It's really scary." Again, as a board member, I spend so much time and money trying to figure out ways to support our students, giving them the tools for prevention and support services to get help to get over this addiction. Today, I'm begging for your help. Ban these flavors. I ask you to direct the city attorney to draft the most comprehensive ordinance to address tobacco usage in the city of Phoenix. We need an ordinance that addresses all the flavors, all the products at all locations with a tobacco retail license and the ability to enforce the ordinance. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Eric Hoffman.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning, Councilmen Nowakowski, Garcia, Williams, and Guardado. I'm a local tobacco manufacturer, and we have 50 employees here. We moved here from California about 3 years ago, and we manufacture hookah tobacco specifically. I've heard a lot of people speaking to the evils of the large tobacco manufacturers. I have to assure you, we're not one of the large tobacco manufacturers. We're a small tobacco manufacturer, and our company doesn't market our products in any very meaningful way. And there's no great agenda for us to get teens hooked on cigarettes. But these actions that are being talked about in city council, have an ability to really harm our business and the jobs we provide to the Phoenix market and throughout the valley, really. We have employees, not just from Phoenix, Glendale, of course, Tolleson, all over. I really didn't prepare very good comments. I regret it. I would ask, though, if you go ahead and want to make a ban on flavored tobacco, that you certainly would exempt hookah tobacco products and flavored pipe tobacco. And then if you really are, your consideration is to really attack vape products as a serious consideration to prevent teen smoking. I think the biggest consideration is to go after the electronic devices. It's the most effective way to control vaping. The liquids that are made up, used for vaping are, they're quite easily manufactured in people's homes from materials that people can get very commonly all over the internet. Thank you. Have a good day.
Our next speaker is Arsh Behela.
Oh, sorry.
Arsh, are you on the line?
There's. Hey, you do say it's just a little bit more expensive than Palm Malls right now. Hello.
Arsh, are you on the line? Our next speaker is Christopher Ortega.
All right, thank you. My name is Christopher, representing Neighborhood Board Phoenix. We'd just like to bring to light unintended consequences and community impact with this policy. Neighborhood Forward stands by the idea of police reform. We want to see a focus on community policing and commitment to the recommendations made by the task force on the 21st century policing. We believe in more education and less incarceration, and looking to work with the council members moving forward. We also urge that to use the same level of caution and consideration as you look to implement policies in the future that could lead to more incarceration between communities of color and law enforcement. Thank you for your time.
And our next speaker is Joseph Yuhas. Mr. Yuhas, are you on the line? Joseph, are you on the line? Well, we're not hearing any audio from Mr. Yuhas, and I believe, let me check with IT, that is our last speaker.
Mr. Chairman, in addition to the comments that the committee has heard this morning, we received over 300 written comments, some in support and some opposed, that were received by this morning. Additionally, for the record, we have received a citizens petition that seems to have been organized by more than 30 different community organizations with thousands of signatures. And the petition says, I support the enactment of an ordinance by the City Council to prohibit the sale of flavored tobacco products. And so we just mentioned both of these items for the record.
Thank you, Milton. And basically, some clarification. This is a topic that I asked the city manager and our city attorney to address. I wanted to figure out what the federal laws and the state laws were on e-cigarettes and vaping. I was hearing from teachers, from superintendents, from parents, they're concerned about underage youth using tobacco, using vaping and e-cigarettes at different sports events and the bathrooms at school and the playgrounds, and wanted to know what we as the city of Phoenix can do and how can we enforce this. And first of all, I wanted to be educated first on what the federal government and what the state government has on the books. This whole issue and this whole topic is really about children, about our youth getting involved and getting addicted to vaping and e-cigarettes. and all the different companies that are out there that are not selling to youth, I feel that you don't all have to be afraid of anything that we're discussing today. I would like our staff to really look into what we can do as a city to prevent youth from vaping and using e-cigarettes. If the staff can look at the best practices that are out there in other cities to prevent young people from vaping and using e-cigarettes. And also, I would like to set up some community meetings so that we can hear from the industry and we can hear from all those individuals that have experiencing vaping and e-cigarettes of minors on possibilities of how to stop this and how can we prevent a whole generation of being addicted and our young people and preventing them from smoking e-cigarettes and vaping. So I was just wondering if we can have a discussion on that and how can our staff work with the industry and also with some of those groups that are advocating for tobacco-free youth and stuff like that. So that's the whole intention of this conversation, and that's what my intention as the person that asked for it. I'm not sure if there's any questions or concerns from my colleagues. Does anybody have comments?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple comments.
Councilmember Williams?
Thank you. I'm only interested in those under age 21. When we began this process, I was unaware of what happened on a federal level, and I was not told about what was going on with the state. I'm hoping that the state comes through this year and does what they were trying to do last year. I think it would be much more effective if it were a statewide issue. It is a statewide issue, but to have something to solve the problem would really help. But I agree with you. I think we need more information on what other cities, especially in Arizona, are doing, how they're doing enforcement, who has the authority to move on this. Does it have to go through a state agency at this point? I'd just like more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Any other concerns from my other colleagues? Seeing that there's none, I'd like to have the next steps really into looking at what we can do as the City of Phoenix to prevent young people from vaping and using e-cigarettes. So Milton, what would be the best steps forward with this?
Mr. Chairman, we've heard the direction the subcommittee is interested in. We can do the additional research to see what other communities around the state are doing, what practices they are using. We can also take a look at some communities outside of Arizona to see if there are any practices worth emulating. I'm not sure if there will be something taken up in the next session of the legislature, but we'll also communicate with government relations regarding that. And we can bring this back for an additional discussion at subsequent meetings. And also, I heard you say you'd be open to some kind of discussions with members of the industry and things like that. So those are additional conversations that we can try to arrange for.
All right, thank you, Milton. And the other thing too is that tobacco-free kids had a lot of good data that I was writing down. I didn't have enough information to write them all. I mean, by the time I got my pen working, I didn't get all that information. So if you could check with them on some of the data that they have about kids smoking and using e-cigarettes and vaping, that would be good too, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So with that, I just really want to thank all those individuals that were on the phone, that gave their testimonies and that their point of view. We can see that this is a hot topic, a topic that's basically being debated within our schools, within our cities, and within our state. And it's great that we, as the city of Phoenix, are starting to have that conversation and trying to find the best practices out there to prevent youth from using e-cigarettes and using vaping tobacco. So with that, I go to the next item on our agenda. I guess it's future agenda items, right?
Yes, sir. Are there any items members of the subcommittee would be requesting?
Councilman Advocacy, can you hear me? Yes, Councilmember Garcia. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate the earlier request of the U visa and the reports to the attorneys. And then we also heard more comments about the protests and potential aggressiveness or the political prosecution, as some called it, of protesters and people's First Amendment rights. So I would want to add an item to talk about the protests and how we've been handling that. Is there any other future agenda items from my colleagues?
And then automatically the items that you took action to move forward this morning will appear on the next agenda.
Correct. And once again, I just want to thank my colleagues for staying on and listening to all the testimonies and the debate on e-cigarettes and vaping. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.